those kind of things, like I have a bias towards this kind of stuff because like those kind of things are the things that I actually enjoy the most, right? It's not necessarily just like glitching. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I don't know. Is it finding out anything like little or hacks, I suppose, like life
Yeah.
hacks is just kind of fun.
Tarkov life hack. Welcome to ScavTalk, an Escape from Tarkov podcast where we continue to focus on developing the game, patch note analysis, theory crafting, and general gameplay discussion. My name is Church. I'm one of your hosts. I am a video editor for Rockmom and Airwing Marine.
I'm GigaBeef, a Tarkov YouTuber helping you guys get better at the game. And welcome back to another week of ScavTalk while we wait for the wipe and we get teased by soon TMs and Tarkov TV and all that kind of stuff. Since then, we've not had a great deal. But before we get into all of that, how has your week been at church? How's it been going?
It's been going good, man. Just degenning it up. For those watching this Monday on YouTube or listening to it on the recording, it is currently Thursday morning, 3:47 a.m. for me, and I think it's 8 or 9.
Yeah, it's like 8:47. We're doing an early edition, partly because I'm away. But I was like, oh, we need to reschedule the Friday thing. Church was like, hey, can we do like really like early your time or something? I'm just like, oh dear, this is oh god, what does this mean? So yeah, we've hopped on at like 3:47, and we've been trying to decide whether that's early or late. I'm not even sure anymore. It's the plague that seems to be all over the content world. We were just talking about it beforehand. So many people, because there's no real like in the content space, right? There's no like working hours and people all over the world. There's kind of no requirement to work in any particular time slot or play in a time slot with other people because everyone else is all over the world when you're relaxing and your downtime, and then everyone just sleeps randomly at random points through the day. So here we are.
Yeah, well said, man. It's working from home plus being on a computer all day and your windows completely blocked from any sunlight because that's cringe, dude. The sun is so cringe. I'm a gamer. No.
Do you have any windows in your room?
I have one, and
is it bricked up?
I bought a thing off Amazon where you put it in the window seal, I guess, or it fills the entire cutout of the window. Okay. And it's like it blocks, it's got like UV reflective on one side, like blocks, it's just like complete vampire technology, dude. It's great. It's great.
Anti-sun, total absorption. In fact, we don't even want to absorb it, we just want to reflect it right back out because we don't even want it at all.
The problem I would run into is historically I would get into the cycle where I would keep staying up, and it would get really bad till I was going to bed and the sun was rising. And then eventually the sun would be, shining through my window at like 12 p.m., it's noon. So I, would like put stuff up to like reduce that, but there's still light coming into the room. So your brain's already screwed. Now it's getting extra screwed because it's, receiving light. So it thinks you're supposed to be awake. So yeah, we went pure black that way. It's just like, I don't know what time it is.
Oh my
body has no clue.
Just lives in a hermetically sealed content box so that you can live on like a 30-hour cycle and just, be completely disconnected from the rest of humanity. I love it. That's that's good. Maybe I should do the same actually. There's
no, I
never really thought about it. Well, for a different reason. I never really thought about it before, but I mean, it's funny that you say about the schedules and all that kind of stuff, because I would say that having a little baby is like one of the most like schedule enforcing things ever. I've spoken before about this to you, I think, about how because they're so routine orientated, you kind of like you're forced into that schedule. There's nothing you can do about it. So that kind of keeps you on the straight and narrow. It's quite useful in some ways. You've got this overlay where it's like, the baby wakes up at this time and then they have their breakfast and then they do this and then and then normally my wife's looking after her in the day. That's fine. But then it's like she gets to the end of the day and she's just like, it's dinner time now. Where's the dinner? Right, it's bath time now. And now it's bedtime. And if you don't put me to bed now, then I'm gonna be up for 3 hours, because kids are kind of counterintuitive in some ways. When they get overtired, they then don't sleep. So you have to like hit them in the sweet spot. If you try to put them to bed early, they won't sleep. If you hit them in the sweet spot, it's all good. But if you go over by a couple of minutes, or it's not that bad. But if you go over by like an hour or something, then they're just like, well, now I'm too tired. Now I can't sleep. It's like, how does that work? But that's the thing. But no. So the reason why I was thinking, because I've got one window here, and I actually have a door there, which has got like glass panels in it, which I'm going to replace at some point because it's kind of noisy, and I want to put soundproof paneling on the back of it at some point, just to kind of like block out the hallway, because that's probably the noisiest part. But the window was never really a problem, and I thought it was okay. It goes out onto a brick wall on the other side, so it's actually not that big a deal. But using the green screen recently, because the sun comes in, behind the clouds and like it
Right.
screws up the color keying
Yes.
as the brightness changes behind me.
Yeah.
And so the other day I was having to kind of like crop myself into a smaller and smaller box so that I had like just a tiny bit of green over each shoulder. But I was like, I can't move, otherwise I disappear outside of the green screen. I was like a mime, just like trapped inside this like tiny little chroma key box, just trying to stop it so that every time the sun comes out or goes behind the clouds, that I don't end up with like tons of green in the background. Dude, it's crazy. So like I actually could probably do with that, just to block the sun out, to make the lighting just a bit more consistent while I'm streaming.
Right.
That would actually be kind of useful. So yeah, because I'm kind of like on off with the green screen. If it's like an overcast day, I can use it just fine. That's all right. But if it's like sunny with scattered clouds, it actually makes it really problematic. So yeah, maybe that's a good idea. I'll have to look into the vampiric technology that you speak of.
Yeah.
So anyway, what's been going on? We have not really had very much since we last spoke. We talked all last time about Tarkov TV, which was like a ton of stuff. Nikita was saying soon TM. I think even last time when we had our discussion, I'd had that conversation on Twitter with like Nice Guy and Jesse, and we were kind of like, not sure if it's going to be coming soon. And Nice Guy's still on the things are coming soon train. It's going to make sense. Hopefully there's an event that weekend. I think that was just before last weekend, and nothing came, obviously. And I'm not really surprised, to be fair. But there was one interesting thing that I did see, and I don't think it was the last Nice Guy video, but it was a previous one that he had, which was he mentioned what I said before, that I'd read on a comment from someone else even before that, which was about the slight concern over the storytelling. Just if this is like, with the Rizzy thing, if that just gets dropped, if nothing happens with it. Like, I was kind of surprised to hear him say that, and I was like, oh god, that makes me worry even more about like the 1.0 main storyline, if the events is kind of really scattered or whatever. Like, maybe it's different, maybe they see it in a different way, and as he said, it's the same people who are like writing the books or whatever, and those are quite good apparently. I actually should get around to reading those books. But he was just kind of mirroring those same concerns, that this sort of disconnected storyline thing, maybe it's just for like random lore to spice stuff up. Maybe it doesn't really mean that much to them. I don't know. But
it could
obviously the playbase reads a lot into it.
It could be, a separate team or individual that's, tasked with making these events and coming up with them. So it could be completely separate outside of like the team, quote unquote, that's working on 1.0, to give them the benefit of doubt, because I do think that they will have some sort of conclusion, I suspect, or resolution. I suspect it's going to involve the pre-wipe events. It may not be as like epic and grand as we want it to be, or maybe we think it will be, but I don't know.
Yeah, maybe that's true, because we know that, well, I say we know, we feel or think that this is probably pushed out quite a lot more than they expected, right? Because the original indications that they said was that the Lighthouse expansion was going to be coming with the trader, and that was a while back. And so if you then compressed all the events that have happened into that time period, it makes a lot more sense. Whereas now, with it being dragged out, they've had to have a few weeks with nothing going on in between, and yeah, it's just a bit different, right? Because they were going to be showing Arena on Summer Games Fest, but then didn't, and then we were going to have Lighthouse expansion before that. So maybe things have got messed up a little bit in the queuing. Whereas something like the 1.0 story, it's all sort of it's like self-contained, right? Like it doesn't. You don't have to factor in like development work on things being released at the right time for the story to make like coherent sense and be within a sensible time frame. So maybe that's different, because yeah, you'll experience that within the game, and it'll be built within the game as its own entity, this whole thing. It's not reliant upon all these other things, because clearly, right, development comes first, and then community, I don't know what you'd call it, but community fulfillment. Yeah, exactly. That's a better way of putting it. The community hype train comes second for sure. And I think that was my takeaway from the whole situation, is that, yeah, they're not prioritizing that community aspect as much as the development, which is totally fair enough. Honestly, it's totally fair enough. So we're just gonna have to wait a little bit longer, I guess. We haven't had any indications yet of any pre-wipe events or anything like that. I mean, I suppose it's possible that we could start getting them this weekend, but I don't know. People have been asking me, and I can't see if I was going to guess a date. I mean, this was like a week ago even that I was guessing, but I would my date would have been something like the 30th of June, like the Thursday the 30th, be like the very final day of June to go into July with a new patch or something. But that would be my guess. But it could easily be 3 weeks away, 4 weeks away for like mid July or something. As easily as it could be next Thursday. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
My guess is if I'm BSG and I wanted to do an arena showcase at Summer Games Fest and that didn't pan out, I want to do this big epic of. Let's further back. I wanted to include the trader in the patch that didn't work out. I want to do this big epic event and have like this grand opening to the patch that didn't work out. Quote unquote. Do you, in that situation, do you still go on full overdrive, panic, scramble to get everything in so you can just push it out? Or do you just like, hey, you know what? We're like so far behind. Let's just take our time. Let's get it right so we don't have to, come into work at 5 a.m. and, do a bunch of hot fixes patches because the patch is on fire and the servers are burning up and the new AI boss is spawn killing everyone. So that's kind of what I'm thinking is like maybe it might be another 2 weeks before we see anything. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's sensible, right? As you say, they're so far behind kind of the indications that they gave out in general that now it doesn't really matter so much whether it comes in a week, in 2 weeks, in 3 weeks. I don't think it matters too much. People are still just now that they've announced the wipe. In some ways, I actually feel that has sort of revitalized a little bit of the game because now people know that they're not having to wait for 3 months.
Yeah, for
sure. So that's given a little bit of time. I think actually that's given the community a bit of a sort of room to breathe just because they know that this is into the final days and they could just mess around and we're not having to sustain what we're doing for until I don't know, September or something. So I think that was a good play, and to give us no date is fine. And yeah, if they take their time and it's a month away from now, like we'll survive. It'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be no biggie because people are just waiting for it now. So but no, I thought that was interesting. I don't know. Obviously everybody's now asking, when do you think it's going to be? And it's everyone kind of wants to know. But I think that's the thing. Like Nikita posted actually. Let me pull up his tweet because he's posted a few bits and pieces here and there, and he replied to someone the other day. If we go on his tweets and replies, his latest tweet is one of those. What are they called? Those things where you have like the squares and they're like computer generated like situations.
Oh yeah, dude.
They're all over the place now. I can't
it's like AI generated. You just type in a phrase instead of words, like Shrek playing Tarkov.
DAL-E?
I don't know. Oh,
Yeah.
is that what it is?
I think it's called DAL-E. Yeah,
I applied for that.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I want access to that so bad, dude. That'd be so cool.
But he put up the post Shrek fights in Tarkov, and it's just like nightmarish, like some kind of a horror movie. Honestly, it's awful. But yeah, anyway, he on his post from the 13th, we might have even have said this last time actually, but he said, we're working 24/7 to make it clear to know like when the patch is going to be, because someone on the 13th, oh no, we must not have talked about it because it's Monday. So he said, what's the most awaited feature? And someone said everything. I can't wait for 338. On a side note, lots of people would be extremely happy if we just get an idea of when the patch is, like not in the next 2 weeks. So if people have stuff to do, we could plan. And he said working 24/7 to make it clearer to know. So like they don't even know when it's going to be, and that kind of that sort of the way that he's saying that makes me think that like 3 weeks is more likely. So the beginning, like either like the 30th at the very earliest, and maybe the first week of July. I don't know. But it could easily be 4 weeks away, a month, like something like that. I don't know. But It's just the way that they're talking about it makes me think that.
Right.
So yeah, I mean that's where we're at. I guess people are coming to conclusions about what we might see in the next patch in terms of what people might do. I know there was some chatter in my Discord about like Machinima and people doing scenarios using the new offline co-op if you can have 11 people. And it kind of got me thinking because I was like, I'm not really much of a storytelling, put that stuff together kind of person, but with my content in particular. But I was like, it's definitely worth a thought now that it's actually going to be possible. You could lay out all sorts of scenarios and even just like sprinkle cinematic stuff in and amongst other things because you can set those scenarios up now and simulate things so much more easily. So like for me, obviously it's big on testing, but I don't really know. Like I'm going to be interested to see what people come up with in that kind of cinematic fashion, telling stories within the offline co-op and being able to use that as like a sandbox environment.
There's so
I mean,
much potential, Giga. So much potential.
I know. I just normally I find I'm just not creative enough in that particular
Oh, don't sell yourself
zone.
short.
I need some. I need some inspiration. I
Mm-hmm.
do. I need some inspiration to figure that out. Um, so yeah, we're like speculating about that and seeing what's going to come. I've been doing a bit of work on some of like the big weapons recently, and I'm interested to see what they bring for the Mjolnir. I was actually asking some guys because like I haven't seen it this wipe at all. The Mark 18, I haven't
Mm-hmm.
seen it at all, and I'm not going to kill Sturman 25 times.
Yeah.
Like that's just not really a thing until my internet situation improves, which I feel like God, I feel like I talk about it every single time I stream now because people are like, "Hey, what's your ping going on with your ping?" And I'm like, "Ugh." Yeah, it's like every single time. I'm like half tempted to cut it off just so people stop asking about it. But once my internet situation gets fixed, then I'll feel more comfortable playing woods because I'm actually kind of steering clear of woods now because like the bit rate is so low anyway for people playing normally. On mine, it's just like you can't really see what's going on. So I'm very unlikely to kill Stone 25 times. Anyway, that's kind of a side tangent. So I've not seen the Mark 18. So I was asking for some screenshots of some of the stats and things like that, just because I had it. Well, you could buy it easily in 12.11, but now you can't get access to it. And literally after like collecting all the information from people, whatever, the very next Moonshine scav case, boom, in it comes the Mark 18. I was like,
Huh.
seriously? Like I haven't seen one all wipe. And like I just got one in the scav case just after asking for all the information about this weapon. So that was kind of, I guess, fate, I suppose.
I didn't know
So I
you
have
could get
one.
it from the scav case. That's interesting. I mean,
Neither did I, but
I guess it makes
yeah.
sense. Makes me wonder if you can get the multi-launcher GL from the scav case in the coming patch, or if it's gonna be grayed out of there.
Oh, that's a very good point.
And you can't do
Because we
anything
don't,
with it as far as selling it. You'd have to run it. I mean, you
yeah.
could vendor it, of course, but yeah, that could be another way of getting it.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, we don't have any weapon, like boss specific weapons right now, do we? Don't think so. I know, like, Red
Mm,
Rebel doesn't really count.
yeah, nothing
But
that's
there's not
like
in, yeah.
exclusive to the boss.
I was just trying to think through because, yeah, it's not
I
Sturm and
mean,
not Killer.
can you buy the RPK off a trader? Like, does that stuff count?
I guess it's, you get them in weapons boxes quite a lot, though, and they're on the
Yeah,
flea.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is true. This is gonna be exclusively. It's the only place it spawns is on the boss.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it does appear in that case
Yeah,
because it'll just be part of that weapons pool, and
right.
then every now and then it might appear. And if you can get the Mark 18 in there, you definitely should be able to get the boss gun in there, unless they specifically carve it out and remember to carve it out of all the places. So I wouldn't be surprised if it spawns in, customs marked room to begin with, and then they go, "Oh, accidental. We didn't mean for that to happen." They get it out then, and someone goes, "Look, I got it in the scav box." No, no, okay, we have to exit out of there as well. Fine. I wouldn't be surprised, but that would be fine. That would be fine. It's an easy thing to fix. And the spawn rate on those is just so low, just because there's so many items in the scav box. It's just so unlikely that you get any one individual thing. It's so weird. Because you have to run that case a billion times to get all the streamer items if you want
Hmm.
Kappa. If you want to do it that way, it's one way of doing it at least. I know that there was lots of people complaining about like the Willers Z wallet, but I've never seen one ever.
I haven't seen
Have
one
you ever seen
either.
one?
But the thing is, you got to remember, you're not getting marked room is really hard to get into now in customs, which to me
Hmm.
is like the most historically was the most accessible marked room to go to. I guess like strategically speaking, because like the
Yeah.
other ones on like reserve, for example, there's like technically 3 different marked rooms, but all of them in my mind, definitely 2 of them are like on the outskirts of the map. So if a person spawns there, they're just like basically uncontested. I mean, you
Yeah.
could
Where's
probably.
um Where's the third one? Because you've got the one that's in the actual the room, which is you go down the stairs, and then there's in
Mm,
the room on the right, and then there's the one outside, down in the very like. If you're looking at the regular map, it would be the southeastern side. If you're looking at like the in-game map, I know it's the wrong way around, but
so there's
that's
one
the
by the
map that everyone
train
thinks.
station in the barracks over there.
Yes, exactly.
There's one in the, I think they're called pawn buildings. in the basement of one of those, and then the other one's in the D2 bunker, the power room. There's technically a marker in them there.
Oh yeah, it's off to the side, isn't it?
It has like some
Yeah,
filing
there's a circle
cabinets.
and
It can
stuff.
spawn. I don't think it spawns like amazing stuff in my opinion. I'm not positive, but like
Yeah,
horses and
it was
chain
that
lights.
last one. It was
Yeah.
that last one that I was forgetting. Yeah, I forgot about that one. But yeah, no, it's interesting. What makes you say? Is it just the key that makes you say that it's like the least accessible, the customs one?
Well, yeah, now because you isn't it like just harder to find? Like it's hard to come by, or am I
Yeah,
mistaken?
I've only had one. I've had one this wipe,
I
and
think
then
they just
25
like
use.
lower the spawn rate in jackets and wherever
Mm,
else you could get it.
yeah, exactly. I still think that room's quite good though. There were some people saying like,
Yeah,
oh, if you want to mark 18, then you can go there because it's been spawning a lot in there recently. Apparently, I don't know how much they fiddle with the spawns in those rooms
I don't
on
know
an ongoing
either.
basis. And yeah, and I know that they've removed cases and that kind of thing from the game. And those are sort of big changes, but like in between times, I do wonder sometimes, and it's not really possible to know, but I do wonder sometimes if they change how much spawns in like the scav case, how much spawns in the various different uh kind of high loot rooms. Just I mean, I doubt it's dynamic or anything. They probably just mess around with it depending on how they feel at the time, and probably at most. I don't know. But yeah, there was another like talking about the scav case. There's actually another random thing that I put up on my Twitter, which is quite funny, and a few people mentioned this. To be fair, I didn't actually report it as a bug. Naughty, naughty. I should have done. But quite a few people were getting disassembled weapons in there, which is
Hmm.
kind of weird. So I ran the moonshine, pressed
Oh
accept,
yeah,
and it was just like the list was like taller than the screen, and it was just like Mark 18 amphibious, charging handle, Mark 18 handguard, Mark 18 lower receiver, Mark 18
right.
all these things, and it was just like 12 different parts or something, and it's like I put them in my inventory. It's just like a cube of just pieces. It's just like the Mark 18 like split into 1,000 bits. And a few other people said they also had the same thing. I have no idea what happened with that, but the scouts basically just brought it up and disassembled it and just dumped it on my front porch. Basically, here you go. Here's your top tier
Yeah,
weapon
I
in
don't know.
pieces.
That's a.
Have fun putting it back together.
I'm not sure what spaghetti code happened there. That's a weird one. I mean,
Exactly.
I'm like thinking maybe it's related to some type of RMT change they did, or I don't know, because that sounds like a new thing. But
Yeah.
anyways, funny story.
I know I've never seen that. I wondered whether it was something to do with like a weapon that can't go on the flea or something, and then
Yeah, like
because of
there's
that,
gotta be some weird.
there's something, and then it says, oh, that can't go in your stash because of some reason, and then it like ends up
Right.
breaking it apart, like as if you'd taken it apart with the sorting table or something. I don't know. I don't really know. There's many
Yeah.
reasons why it could be.
Yeah, for sure. No, but that sounds like a, if I was a bug investigator, that would be like one of the first places I would check. That sounds like a
Mm,
possibility. I wanted
exactly.
to transition and jump back. So you were talking about the machinima stuff. So
Hmm.
I was scrambling to get in to the cast with you because prior to that I was playing Tarkov with Airwing, and I've been putting off for I wanted to do this in the Rockman project. I've been working on it forever and delaying it forever because V Horizon, but the freaking I wanted to get this scene shot in a raid, as like a cinematic for it. And here's where it's at. Okay, that shoreline, East Swing Resort, outside by the fences near the gate at night. Mind you, this is where cultists can spawn. So I have to go into a night raid, not die to cultists, not die to players, and film some ridiculous stuff, right? So, I got Airwing. He'd be like, yeah, sure, Church, I'll help you. So I tell him what we gotta do. He's like, Church, are you fucking kidding me? Like, this is not what I signed up for. I'm like, dude, it'll be quick. We'll just go. It'll be fine. What could possibly go wrong? It's like it's 3 a.m. for me, it's like 1 p.m. for him. Like, there's like 5 people in lobby. I'm sure it's fine, All white names, by the way, but I'm sure it's fine, dude. Just don't worry about it. So we make our way there. Eventually we get there, we clear it out. A miracle, no one's there. A miracle, there's no cultists.
Hmm.
So I'm in the first position. I'm down on the ground. He's on the roof. And I tell him, okay, I'm like playing the role, the view of the cultist, and you are the PMC, the actor. So I'm the cultist POV looking up at the roof, and he's gonna peek his head up, see me and then like sprints away. So I tell him what to do. That he does it. I'm like, okay, great. Now I need you to come down, and we're gonna switch. I'm gonna record you as the cultist, and I'm just gonna be like a third party observer, and you're gonna react. And it's anyways. So he's like, okay, I'm coming down, and so I'm like, I'm at the gate or by the shack, and I'm looking. I'm trying to make sure no one's like, because I just jumped in the raid. I just threw on whatever I had. Like I had a bunch of slicks. I put on a slick. I had a gun ready. It was unsuppressed. I changed the sight so it wouldn't mess with MGs. But it's just like, you know, I'm unsuppressed. We've been shooting scavs, and like my gun's super loud. So I'm mutant with a muzzle brake. It was a whole show. So he's like, okay, I'm looking. He's coming down, and then I hear him go, "Oh fuck!" And I look, and I see him falling from the roof, and he lands and dies instantly. And I was like, "No, what happened? No!" And he was like, "I don't want to talk about it." I was like, "No, what happened?" He was like, "Gravity happened." I'm like, "Gravity doesn't push you off the roof. How did you fall?" He's like, "I don't want to talk about it, church. Fuck you, church." I think he took some moonshine from the scavs that night. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. Oh no, he did tell me. He said he wanted to jump on the air vents and go down that way because it would be faster. I don't know what happened. There may
something like that.
Like there may or may not been some good old Jack Daniels. Wait, is it Dan Jackals or Jack Daniels? I don't know involved. Anyways, it was hilarious. It's on recording. Maybe I can do something with it, but that took us probably like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's like if you get one trip up, dude, because you gotta do all the prep work. You gotta get in lobby, gear up, get in lobby. You gotta think ahead, go to the spot, kill the scavs, worry about players. Like it's so much to do. And I'm like, when we were doing this, I would remember, it's like, oh my god, they're adding co-op mode. Like, man, that's gonna make this so much more easier, dude. And you can, because it's gonna be so much easier, you can just do more stuff. And I'm super excited for that. I cannot wait, dude. That's like my most, honestly, Lighthouse Trader, meh. I mean, it's gonna, don't get me wrong, it's cool, but the offline stuff, dude, as like from like a content creator editing perspective, oh my god, this could be so great. So hyped for that.
Yeah. It really is. It really is going to be so good. I mean, as I said 1,000 times, like testing is just going to be so much easier because you don't lose anything when you die or when you leave or whatever. So you can buy one armor and test it 15 times, which is amazing. Great. But yeah, for all of this kind of story-driven content, whatever, like it was really difficult before to make anything work. And I think some of these projects, because people have tried previously to do these projects. I think you might have mentioned a project that somebody approached you about, and someone approached me about something ages ago. It may have been the same one even. And at the time, I just said, "Look, I'm sorry, I don't have time to actually get involved in this, but best of luck to you." But those kind of ones will be so much more straightforward now, as you were saying, because yeah, you can go in, and also like one of the amazing things about it is that because you're not going to die. You come out of the raid, you've got exactly the same kit on that you had when you went in, so you can just re-queue straight back in again to go and retry it. Like so much of the time, we all know this, right? Playing Tarkov, there's so much time that you spend just messing about with your kit, and especially if you die, you have to like repiece it all back together from the beginning. It's very painful, but yeah, to have like multiplayer support for 11 people is going to be absolutely insane for this kind of thing. It's going to be neat. It's going to be neat. Yeah, Church, the cult recordings can continue. You basically just have to wait until then. Like, there's no real point doing anything until then. Like, I'm sort of holding off on testing or all that kind of stuff, especially if it requires multiple people until what? Because now we know that it's around the corner. I don't really feel like I just don't want to go through all the hurdles and things that you need to now. Because I'm like, well, I just want to wait. If you just wait a few weeks, you can do all this stuff in like a quarter of the time, probably. Like, it really is probably that dramatic. Like a 2-hour testing window probably takes you like 30 minutes now, I would say.
So what you're saying is you're telling me in advance that you won't accept my offer to go try again and you be the cultist this time? I may or may not have been planning to ask you after the cast.
Is Erwin out? Is he definitely done?
Oh yeah, he's definitely like he's mad at me, but yeah, he's out.
Oh my god. Oh, I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm looking forward to it. I need some ideas. I need some good ideas myself. Speaking of shoreline, like a random thing.
Mhm.
Another thing I just put up on Twitter. I was watching actually a Jesse highlights video because
Oh yeah, didn't you send that to me?
I sent you
I
a
forgot to
clip,
watch it.
which
Yeah.
was, dude, oh, it's literally just 10 seconds. It's
Mhm.
so funny. It's like he tries to peek a rogue on Lighthouse and dies. And he's like, oh, I hate this game. And then then he's like into the mic, he's just like, it's not the game that's broken, it's you left side peek three, this kind of thing. Because he's like any time anybody catches him left side peeking, they're just like, well, you should be left side peeking, oh, it's your fault.
Mhm.
But it's just the way it's done. It's super funny. But now I was watching one of those, and I'm not sure whether it was that one or a different one. But anyway, he like goes around the broken hole in the wall on Shoreline Resort on the west wing, down at the bottom with the ramp, and you've got the broken hole at the bottom. Goes in there, like walks past the filing cabinets, round the corner, and I was just like, wait, there's a hole there? There's like a little cubby hole. Honestly, I had no idea that there was anything past the shelving unit. It's only a tiny little piece, like literally this tiny little piece of area past the shelving units. I don't know how many times I've been through that corridor. I had never knew that there was like a set of windows there and like a
Yeah.
little corridor piece there. Like I was just like, well, I'm just gonna make fun of myself, put it on Twitter because I don't care. But like so many people are just like, bro, how did you not notice this? It's crazy. But I do think it's partly the fact that I was thinking about this afterwards. I was like, how did I never know that was there? And like sometimes you just don't bump into things. Like you just learn something random on Tarkov that you've not seen
Mhm.
before. I don't play Shoreline Resort that much. So there's like a Venn diagram here,
Yeah.
right? Of like things that you do in Tarkov. Yeah, playing Shoreline, yeah, okay. That's like quite a big Venn diagram. I play
Mhm.
Shoreline quite a lot. Do I play Shoreline Resort? Not that much. Really
Right.
not that much, actually, except for quests. And so that really limits it a lot. And then of Shoreline Resort, I would say that I'm definitely more comfortable in the East Wing, for sure. I don't know why. It just historically is the place I've ended up. And so I really don't spend that much time on the West Side. I think it might have been because when I was first getting into Shoreline, I had a friend, and this was Wipe 2, I think, or the end of Wipe 2, or maybe the beginning of Wipe 3. And I had a friend who was like, "Yeah, I'm starting to get into key runs." I think it must have been the beginning of the second Wipe. And he was like, "Yeah, I'm getting into key runs." He was like, "I've bought all these keys." And I looked up the two different key run guides that he had suggested, and there was an East Wing guide and a West Wing guide, and I had a couple of the keys for East already, so I bought the extra ones and then learned the East Wing run. And I
Okay.
think that must be why, because I never really spend much time in West. I
Yeah.
always spent all my time in East. And, I've spent some time in West going to the rooms to get lead X's and that kind of stuff, finding raid after they made those changes, like, sure. But it's just, I'm not a prolific traveler of the West
Mhm.
Wing. And so when I was like, that probably must be why. It's just like the small number of times that I'm, playing on Shoreline in the West Wing in that area is like so tiny, actually, if you think about the number of raids in total. And yeah, just like never really had any fights found there, never spotted it. But I thought it was funny, dude. I thought it was funny. Just like these random things can just come out of nowhere. You're just like, how did I not know this?
Yeah. No.
I do like those. What's the like the Reddit phrase for it? It's like I was today years old when I learned.
Yeah.
There's like so many of those things. People learning stuff like way after they're supposed to. It's quite
I
funny.
mean,
And
it's
usually it's pronunciation.
totally makes total sense the way you frame it, you know. I
Yeah.
mean, I think in the past, like the first floor of East, closest to like the window, there's like that like you said, the corridor with like the glass there and it's like shelves, on the first floor. I think there's a couple of different ones, but I never knew that like it actually curves around and there's a cubby, right?
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
so I mean, it like it took because I played it a lot. Eventually I figured it out, but that's because I played it a lot. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
Shoreline was like the second or third wipe. That's like okay, we're gonna learn the resort, and so we just like bought all the keys and learned everything. And there's like little like, knickknacks that you wouldn't find out if you weren't actively playing the map a ton of hours, especially if you're just
Yeah.
going in and out for like a quest item or whatever, you probably don't see all the other stuff. Like, dude, honestly, West is kind of annoying because you think that you can go to third and just go across, but you can't.
Yeah. And you have
So
to go
it's like,
down. Like,
yeah, that trips people up. I mean, it tripped me up a lot too. It's like, oh yeah, I'm coming. Crap, I gotta go back down. I can't help you. It's like, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I think that is a testament to the map design in some ways, that those annoying blocks are there, which is kind of fun. Like it reminds me of, it actually feels way different now, but like when I first started playing customs, I didn't know anything about like the jump overs and all of that kind of stuff. I don't know whether some things change with strength and jump height and that kind of things as well. These jumps were probably popular before. It's just I wasn't maybe watching that much content. I was just kind of like playing the game and not really watching too much. But like customs always felt so constrained. You're like, there's a wall here and a block there, and you can't get through here. But then after a while, you're like, oh, you can jump on this, you can jump over this, you can
Yeah.
get over the wall there. Or there's like the set of barbed wire. You know where the sniper tower is. There's the sniper scav who's in that little like lookout tower next to like the military checkpoint key
Yeah.
room underneath. And there's like that little piece of barbed wire, and you can just like sneak through
Yeah.
underneath that kind of thing. Because like when you first start playing, you're just like scared to touch any barbed wire or anything. You know, after like a couple of wipes, and you're just like
Plugging the white wall.
grazing in. Yeah, exactly.
Hit the barbed wire.
Just
Ah!
grazing through. Yeah, yeah, exactly that. Exactly. So it's just it's funny just how the maps kind of like open up once you like know the little shortcuts and the little routes through. There's like even just like tiny little jinks through the wall. Like there's the one by Customs Big Red, and on the railway side, you can go through this like that tiny little. There's that little like sort of, I don't know what, it's just like a little gap in the wall. And you can just like sneak just through and go through there. And then there's a door next to like the little room with the shelving units and stuff. So it's actually the map's like way more traversable than you first think when you first start playing. But I distinctly remember feeling like customs was so like claustrophobic and so oppressive, because I'm just getting like trapped and stuck all the time. There's even quite a few of the breaks in the wall are like covered by bushes completely. So like unless you physically wade through the bush and actually go looking for the holes, you don't necessarily know they're there at first. So I mean, it makes yeah, it's just like totally understandable that people don't realize about these things if you're not playing it all the time. Yeah, after putting so many hours into customs, like eventually you work these things out, or you see them on other people's.
Learn them from other people. Yeah, it's like a shortcut.
That is like quite useful to watch other people's content sometimes. I find like I would like to do more of it if I had more time, but to be able to see like where other people go, because people like to stick to their own kind of comfort routes and other places that they know really well. And then watching other people play, they've got different comfort routes to you, so they know all these places really intimately. So yeah, it's just kind of fun, and you learn something when you do that, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, I just thought that was a funny one.
Speaking of content, I know you've been busy pumping out the content as of late.
Yeah, I've been doing a bunch of different stuff. It's been, I don't know, it's been a funny one trying to make content into the end of the wipe. And especially, well, before we knew the wipe was happening, it's like I tried a few different things, and I'm still kind of focusing on like late game builds and also some like testing mechanics, that kind of thing. Which is, I mean, I would say like people seem to be enjoying it. It's working quite well. I'm enjoying it too. It's like stuff you don't normally get around to doing, but there's nothing really else to say. So it's kind of like, well, I don't feel like I'm missing out making other things. And it's like, okay, we could make more general stuff. Like some of the beauty of like these that we're doing at the moment, like Ergo stuff or Flechette or whatever, is they're kind of like, unless something changes dramatically, they're sort of wipe agnostic in a sense. So it doesn't really matter whether it's 12.12 or 12.13 or whatever. They kind of stand up to the test of time a little bit better than other pieces of content. But yeah, dude, I did one recently which I was like, I was sort of, I would definitely say it was borderline myself. I was interested to see kind of what your opinion was. So I did the video about like advanced medical stuff, and most of it is about like animations and that kind of thing. But the idea that sparked all of it off in the first place for me was the medical reload, like animation kind of skip thing.
I love, yeah.
Which, you know, like it's a mechanic, it's in the game, it's the way it functions. And so, you know, whether people should or shouldn't be aware of it is like another question, but we can get into that in a minute. But just to explain to everybody, just in case people didn't watch, there's the way that the animations work right now for meds and for weapons. So if you've got a weapon physically in your hands and you reload it, or you take off an attachment or whatever, then it's going to either play the reload animation, or it will lower the weapon, add the attachment, and bring the weapon back up with the attachment on it. It's just kind of how Tarkov deals with it. But if you do Another action, it's actually not exclusive to healing, but healing is the most obvious one because that's the one you're normally doing in the middle of combat. If you heal, the gun disappears and your hands get replaced with, or your rather than the weapons, not your hands get replaced with, it's like Salewas for hands. No, but you end up with a Salewa or car kit or whatever it is in your hands instead of the gun. And so what that means is that if you go into the inventory, you can then do whatever you like to the weapon. You can fold the stock, you can add mods, you could disassemble the entire gun and put it back together again. You actually can't take it out of a slot. I did try that. So you can't take it out of a slot. That still happens with a delay. But the most important one is that you can, if you have another mag in your rig, you can right click on the gun while the med animation is happening, and you can press the reload button. You could technically do unload and then drag another mag in, but you can just go right click reload and it just cycles the current mag out and a new mag in. But this all happens instantaneously.
Right.
So while the med animation is happening, you can do that in an instant, and you can do lots of stuff. You could do a reload, you could do a fold, like lots of different things until the gun comes back up. And one of the reasons why, so I was kind of like, it's definitely on the borderline. I wanted to include it because so many people at the top level of the game use it. So like Landmark does it all the time, continuously. Yeah. And as far as I'm concerned, like, yeah, it probably is like is like not intentional, and hopefully will get patched out at some point because it's not really supposed to be there. But while the top players are using it, I was like, I feel okay. Like it's not like a game breaking bug or something where like you can like lean into a pillar and like see through the map or whatever. Like it's not game breaking like that, and it's not something that because all the top streamers are doing it anyway, we're basically just like leveling the playing field.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's one way to look at it.
And so and I was like, well, I'm comfortable with this being on the line, and I'm going to release it with that as one part of it. Like it's not just that, like there's all sorts of other stuff about like the timing of meds and and like how much each one heals and things, which was interesting to look into anyway. But I was like, we're going to start with this one just because I do think that it's valid, despite being like slightly controversial. Now, I was ready and I was expecting, the comment section was full of people on both sides, yes, honestly.
Of course.
And that was exactly what I was expecting. So yeah. I was ready for this, and I was interested to see where you stand on it, because like I think there is a line for different things. It's like no one complained when I told them that they could do Punisher Part 4 without the scav vest, right? Nobody complained then, but everybody hates this.
Wait,
you know what I mean?
Oh, you can do it without the scav vest? Is that a bug?
Well, you can't anymore, but they changed it. But like a couple of wipes ago, you only had to wear the balaclava. You could wear whatever armor you wanted. Like you could do it with attack tech or whatever. You didn't need to wear the scav vest. So people were all over that, and everybody loved that. Yeah. Because you're using the mechanic of the quest that has not been properly defined to skip some of the progression or make the quest easier. Like no one cared about that, but people do seem to care about this. But like this is the thing. Like I would argue that even though it's probably it's almost certainly not intentional.
Most likely.
By people not knowing about it until it's fixed, you're just increasing that gap between players who do know and players who don't know. Right. Yeah. Because I don't know. It's a tough one.
And to me, it's not an intuitive thing you would think to do. Like,
yeah.
I mean, naturally your gun goes away. You understand there's an animation. You understand you can stop it, but stopping it, like if I need to bring out my gun, I don't know. It just makes perfect sense to me that, you wouldn't think, oh, I can, while I'm healing, I can also reload, but visually you're seeing your Salewa. So that wouldn't, like, it just wouldn't occur to you. If you press R, nothing would happen, right? It wouldn't really occur to you to open up the menu. And I mean, I'm reminded of when the revolver first came out. I saw people, they would run 2 revolvers, one in their pistol slot and one in the rig. And what they do is they would shoot it off, all 6 rounds, switch to the other pistol, open up the menu, drag the bullets into the gun to like quickly reload the other pistol, and then switch. You could just cycle back and forth, but you could like instantly, instead of doing any reload animation, you could just instantly menu reload. But as long as it wasn't the revolver in your hands, which is basically a similar thing going on with the reload animation.
Can you do that with 2 double barrels?
Yes. That's why when you first brought up the 2 double barrels things, I was like, dude, that's actually really smart, because I was thinking you can just cycle the reload and never have to. Yeah, it's
See, I see.
it's
Yeah,
actually
yeah, that
really
makes
strong.
sense.
But
That makes sense. Yeah. So I mean, what needs to happen is that the animation timing, in some sense, needs to be aligned with, or it just cues it or something, so that like if an animation is
I
happening already, when the gun comes back, it then needs to reload afterwards. You know what I mean? That's what needs to
yeah,
happen, really.
they could queue it. The only thing of queuing is if you can't cancel it, and it's really frustrating.
That's true. You should just disable the option. Like you shouldn't be able to go
That's what
right
I'm
click
thinking.
anything if you're in the middle of
Yes.
another animation. So you have to
For
cancel your existing animation, because that works for some things, right? It's like, oh, hands are busy. You know, you can't do.
because the
You have to.
CMS used to be you couldn't pack mags. I think you can still reload, but you used to be able to use the CMS and then pack mags while CMSing. Now you can't do that anymore. I'm not sure if you can.
Yeah.
I think you still can reload while CMSing as long as it's through the menu, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's funny. It's funny you did that video because I did a video a long time ago. It was like 10 hidden mechanics Tarkov doesn't want you to know, or something like this. And it was a really crappy video. I'd shot it like on stream, just like literally wrote the script, like bullet points, and it was a hot mess. But it got a lot of traction, and there was tons of comments too. Because one of the things I featured was the med reloading thing, you know. And it's like my take on it is it's a bug. In my opinion, I'm assuming for BSG, but I would feel very safe in saying that BSG would consider it a bug. You can talk about impacts of bugs or whatever, but it's still a bug, right? But to me, it's up to BSG to fix it. You know what I mean? If they're not gonna fix it, like in a game where you're gonna lose progression, I mean, it's a survival game. You know what I mean? When people go into survival mode, I know it's a game. Don't get me wrong. When people go in survival mode, they do things they wouldn't normally do. So I don't know. It's just kind of like, yeah, I don't know. It to me, it's just like, man, BSG really should fix this, because it's like, as you said, it's such a dude. You showcase something that kind of blew my mind. I didn't even think about. So you took a Scar H and you dumped the mag, and then you're like, normally you have to reload, and it would reload the mag, and then it would chamber the rounds. You have to cock the charging handle. Whereas now, instead of reloading, you just pop a stem or a med or a painkiller or a heal, and then you in the menu you reload it and also drag around in there, and it instantly goes down. It's like, dude, that's so genius. Because then when the gun comes back, normally you have to cock it, but now you don't have to cock it because you did it in the menu. And I would be interested to see someone set up a macro, like just for science. But like, how fast could you do this? Like, if you had a machine do the work for you. So think about, like, it instantly does a different animation. The next millisecond, it opens up the menu, it hits reload. All this happens like within milliseconds, closes out the menu, cancels the animation, and you're boom, 0.1447 milliseconds reload done on a macro. I'd be curious to see if it's like how much window.
Well, like what the technical limit is.
Yeah, because I feel like there really is none, because the game doesn't restrict you from doing stuff in the menu while you're doing, like, if the thing you're messing with isn't in your hands, then you can do whatever you want, basically. Like the gun on my back, I can drag it to my backpack back and forth, no problem. But if I take the gun that I'm currently handling, put it in my backpack, it's gonna switch, put it in there and switch to my secondary or whatever. So
yeah, I mean, I think for that, I think you're probably best off. I'm not even sure if it's necessary. I think because the limiting factor is like the animation of the med. Usually, I mean, I don't know this because there's other things like food and stuff that you could potentially do, but you still have like the getting it out time.
Right.
Even if you cancel it, you don't have the putting away time. So
right.
Even in the situation where it's like you wanted to reload and you wanted to put the bullet in, like I had plenty of time with a heal to do that. So, but yeah, I don't know what the shortest possible one is. I'm not actually sure. But one of the funniest things about the whole of this situation is that because, like, I've kind of known about this for a while, but like because I've never practiced it, I actually don't do it.
Yeah.
And not necessarily because I have any like particular,
Mm-hmm.
philosophical
Sure.
problem with it per se. It's just that like it's not in my muscle memory, and it's just
Yeah.
you need to learn. It's like a learned skill kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, in terms of the actual issue itself, I'm very much in the same camp as you, where even for things that are quite clearly like game breaking, like it really is on the devs to do that, right? Because like people playing on their own who aren't streamers or whatever, who are playing solo, like as we said, right, you're going to take every advantage that you're given within the mechanics of the game. Like the reason why video games work really nicely, in my opinion, compared to like tabletop games or whatever, is that you don't have to read the rule book. The rules are like baked into the system, and so that's. I know that there are things that are totally unintentional and end up being like really really stupid.
Mm-hmm.
But it really is on the devs. Like it's so much on the devs. Like I feel like it's kind of unfair to like place the onus of what you should and shouldn't do on the player base.
You're right.
And it's like some people do that in certain regards. Like we know that the addiction for meds is coming at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not a prolific pre-painter, partly for that reason. I don't really like the way it plays out. I don't like the way it looks on my screen. I don't like the way it then makes the stream look, and I just find it kind of stupid. I'm not really a big pre-painter, even though it is probably 90% the like meta thing is just to run around with Golden Star
Mm-hmm.
and just be like pain killed the whole time.
Uh-huh.
Probably is the best thing to do in a sense, but lots of people don't do that kind of stuff. But I don't feel that anybody who does use these things are kind of, I don't know, should be, I don't know, seen in a bad light or anything, because as I said, it's on the dev to do what they want, right? People can make their own individual decisions
Sure.
if they want to,
Yeah.
about the way about what they should do, but I don't feel like we can complain too much about players that do it, because like as I said, right, you see guys like Landmark doing it continuously all the time, because it's another one of those mechanics that improves the efficiency of what you're doing, even though it's unintended. It's like, well, who's to decide what's intentional, what's not intentional? Sometimes in the past there's been things like, like the blacked out thorax thing, right? It's like, well, Nikita said that's a bug, so if you get blacked out thorax, you're just going to kill yourself. Like, I know that's not quite the same argument, but you know what I mean, right? It's
Yeah.
like people thought that was maybe intended. He said it wasn't. They still haven't fixed it. So you can
Right.
still get a blacked out thorax now. So it's like the rules of the game, in my opinion, are the rules that you have to stick by, right? And like cheating is a completely different thing, because you're going outside to get third party stuff. We've had this conversation before about like what counts as
Mm-hmm.
cheating, what doesn't count as cheating, and there's also like a bit of a weird gray area there, because you have like mice and keyboards, monitors,
Right.
changing the screen, using like post effects, or even just like monitor settings to change like night vision and all this kind of stuff. So it's like you open up a whole Pandora's box of weirdness. But like I don't, as I said, my personal opinion on it is that players, especially for something like this where it's like a mechanic thing and not like a you lean through the map and can see everything, like as if you had a wall hack kind of thing, which is like game breaking, I would say. I don't think this is necessarily game breaking. And sometimes having sort of more widespread visibility of this stuff means that it'll get reported by more people, and then you might get it fixed quicker, especially given that the top people are doing it anyway. It's not like I'm the first person to have ever found this out.
Yeah. That there is a
So
gray area there, because if you remember the wipe where people were glitching max strength and max endurance,
I was thinking that in the back of my head.
I was one of those, It was like I think it was my first wipe, and a buddy told me about it. I looked at the video, and I was like, I'm never gonna get max endurance and max strength. Me clueless thinking back then. So I did it, and it completely ruined the game for me because it was so busted back then. It was, oh my god, it was ridiculous, dude. We were literally like jackrabbits on shoreline, jumping, breaking our legs, just going from like mound to mound. It was insane, dude. But anyways, that was like a pretty big exploit, dude. Like a first day one account could get max health too, I think, because it would level that. I think, yeah, endurance strength. It was so, and yeah, anything like part I was gonna talk about was like the leaning through like doors and seeing like through buildings and like shooting through buildings and like entities and objects. Like that stuff's pretty high on the list in game breaking. I do feel like this is kind of high on the list in game breaking because when you do something, like when you see a mess, you're making an active choice to say, I'm can't defend myself, but I'm doing this other action that's gonna help me. There's like a decision to be made. This is like I could do two things at once. Like you're not even getting penalized. Like it's I don't know. It's kind of crazy. Like in some cases, it might be good to take damage so that you could heal and reload your gun. Like it's so, like it's like crap. What can I use so I can min max and reload and also do something as well? Like, anyways, yeah. Um, I
Yeah.
I my point I was trying to make there is like there is definitely I've seen other devs talked about this where players get really passionate about a certain bug or exploit, and right, wrong, and different, they want it to be fixed because they're tired of it affecting them. So they spread it. And then as the developer, their thing is like, great, now this is like getting pushed in front and we have to go in panic over mode, overdrive mode because now it's spread like wildfire and everyone's using this game breaking exploit. I mean, probably case in point is literally the thing I just talked about, the max strength
Yeah.
bug. Because then they just wipe everyone's. That was their solutions. They just wiped everyone's. They fixed it and they wiped everyone's strength and endurance, and everyone was mad. Everyone was really mad.
Yeah, because exactly, rather than putting it kind of back to where people were, if they hadn't been doing anything like crazy, they wiped everybody back to zero. But on that basis, right? Like, yeah, when you have something that's that bad and that prolific, then the dev needs to step in, right? That's the way it is, right? That's the way it is. I don't know. I think it's difficult to put that player onus in terms of deciding what you should and shouldn't do, and like what is morally acceptable and what is not acceptable to do.
Right.
It's like you get into weird, like really strange gray areas, but
Yeah.
ultimately it's up to each individual to decide, I suppose, on what they want to do, what they don't want to do. I think there's definitely a part of me that in lots of the games that I've played, those kind of things, like I have a bias towards this kind of stuff because like
Mhm.
those kind of things are the things that I actually enjoyed the most, right? It's not necessarily just like glitching, but you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like finding stuff that is legitimately in the game usually is the way
Right.
that it goes out. But it's just like really, really cool. And it's exactly like the sentiment that you said, which was you do the reload, but then you can also do the bullet, and then it stops the cocking mechanism from happening too. So those little like intricate little things, like I love that kind of stuff. And so I think that in this particular circumstance, that kind of makes me like maybe overly fairly lenient upon it and being like, well, it's okay because I think it's kind of like, even though it's not really intended, it's like kind of cool in some ways because it's like
Yeah.
sort of skilly as well, because you're just like, you do the reload, you open the menu and you're just like,
Right.
right click
Right.
reload the thing and drag the bullet, and then you're back in, like, so you have to stop. If you
Right.
open the menu, you have to stop completely. So there is a kind of thing. Like you have to be in cover, you have to not be in line of sight. Like, yeah, it's good, but there are some other requirements too. So I think
Sure.
maybe that makes me like a little more lenient towards it, just because like I find those intricacies kind of entertaining in their own right. Just because I don't know, is it finding out anything like little or little sort of, I guess, like little hacks, I suppose, like life
Yeah.
hacks, is
Yeah.
just kind of fun.
Tarkov life hacks.
Tarkov life hacks, exactly, because there's lots of those kind of things.
Yeah.
Like things like buying the hardly ever buy the M4, right? You buy the ADAR and then get the lower and then
Mhm.
swap all the parts over. That kind of thing. Like those are the same. They're sort of bucketed in the same part that like
Yeah.
makes my
Yeah.
brain happy, and one being a legitimate in-game thing, and the other one being like very much borderline in terms of like unintended mechanics and stuff. I don't know. I think it's subjective as well. I think it's subjective. But even for me, this was like I was like I'm right on the line of where I will go to here. Like I was like I'm ready. I'm prepared, and I know that some people will think unfavorably that I've made
Mhm.
this mechanic um more widespread and more obvious.
I mean, it's been
But
in the game for so long at this point. I think
mhm.
we do need more widespread. Like this is completely like, subjective for me, but I think it's been in the game since the games existed. You know what I mean? Like it's been long overdue. Like to me, I could see why you're um this like tickles that part of your brain because you take two existing mechanics that are like completely independent from each other, and then there's a tiny little overlap, and there's like this whole new microcosm of mechanics, and it's like really cool stuff you can do. This is like min maxing,
Exactly.
and it's like yeah, same with the you can buy the M4, you can buy the ADAR, but you can buy the ADAR up or the whatever the ADAR trick.
Yep. Or lower. Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
too many. I can't with all the terminology. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I totally get why, and I'm the same way, dude. Like, yeah, I love life hacks like that, dude. It's just I don't know. It's just like you want to just take all these mechanics and like see what's like, what can you do when you like mix these different brews together? What crazy concoction? Like I'm playing V Ryzen now, and you have all these different abilities, and it's like, oh, I love it, dude, because I can just like take all these different mechanics and like try to like blend them together and come up with this cool build. It's kind of like the same process. Um, so yeah, it's cool.
It's cool. You said to me before that you've been playing V Rising a bunch. How's it going? Like
Dude,
how's it been going? You sound like you've been kind of on the DGen gamer hours
dude, it's
with this game.
Giga. It's really bad, man. It's like Rust 2.0. It's really bad. Like New
Oh, no.
World, New World was like kind of also doing it for me, but it quickly fizzled out because it just wasn't all that interesting. Um, it was it was like very grindy and not enough like intensity. Like it just felt like I was just playing a solo. I mean, that's what I was doing. I was playing solo. I tried playing with friends, but like I don't know. It was just a weird game. I mean, that game had many many other issues outside of the structure, but anyways, V Rising is interesting to me because it is a survival game. Um, and it has that it just tickles my monkey brain, dude. I just like there's always something to do. There's something to like craft, to be doing, to be
Mm.
like resource gathering, to put it into this refiner so you can get this resource and then put it in here so you can craft this. So you can go slay the boss and then get this new ability and then you go back and like what's the next thing to do? It's just like build the base, upgrade the base, reinforce. Like there's just so much shit to do, Giga, and I just like can't stop, dude. I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna get off after this one task. 3 hours later, okay, now I'm gonna get off. Just one more task, and then I start redecorating the base. I'm like, fuck, dude, I just can't stop now. I gotta finish it, dude. It's so bad. And here's the crazy part, dude. I'm gonna like talk about V Rising a bit more if it's
Go
all
for
right.
it.
But
Actually, go for it.
I got so sucked in to redecorating the base, dude, because it has like all this like role player shit. I call yeah, you can use some resources to make like little pieces of furniture and like vases and like gargoyles and like gargoyle statues, and you can like really like put carpet on the flooring of your base, and it actually makes you run faster. But there's like dude, I was min maxing, dude. I was like the carpets, everything's in squares, like when you build the base.
Mhm.
So I had like a room that was like a odd shape. It was like a 4 wide, maybe like 5 long, but like the top left quadrant was missing. Um, so, anyways, I was trying to lay out carpet, but I was also trying to lay out these refinery machines. So one would like ground up stones and turn them into bricks so you could use them for the base, and the other one would carve up wood into planks so you could build the base. But there's like these different shapes, and like maybe like the sawmills cover like 2.5, or sorry, 1.5 of the, like it covers like 70% of two different squares. It's like a 1x2. Like it's weird. So you're trying to like piece all these things together, and then you got this carpet that's like kind of a set pattern that attaches to the squares because mind this is all squares. But what I figured out is that because the path to get to these things aren't perfectly on the squares, like the center of the squares, they were like offset. So the carpet wasn't going to work naturally, and it wasn't also going to connect to all the other places where you would get the speed bonus, right? So what I did
Right.
was you can basically have it not snap to the edges of the squares and kind of like free float place it. So I placed a bunch of free floating things and got them somehow to connect, and it worked, and it was beautiful. And I did this we had like a library room that had all the stuff you could research things, and the color scheme was purple, dude. Purple curtains, purple wallpaper, purple
Oh my
lights,
goodness.
dude. Had an alchemy room that was green. I went all out, right? I did all this work. Like, oh, I was like, oh, so proud of it. You know, it was beautiful, right? Spent probably like 16 hours that day, like on and off playing V Rising. Okay. I wake up today at some time, God knows when. I log on just to like, I'll just do a few things, you know me. Refill the furnaces, this, that, and the other. We were raided, dude. And they fucking, I was like, dude, I did all of this work. And then it's like for naught, dude. I mean, it's not like entirely over. They only took all the good stuff, like the good resources.
Oh.
But it was like kind of a blessing because I'm like, okay, this is a sign. I need to stop, dude. This is a good point to stop, dude.
I didn't realize you could get raided fully like that. This is like
Yeah.
a Rust, where you can just have your base taken over.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So it's man, this is like such a hard game to describe, but I'll try to do my due diligence here. It's a survival action RPG, and the combat is kind of like League of Legends in that, we're familiar with Dota, but it's a bit more skill based. Like you aim and shoot, and these things have travel speeds and whatnot. So it's definitely interesting like that because there's definitely like a skill element to the game because you actually don't level up a character traditionally. You just get level up your gear score, it's called. So like each gear has a different number, and that's sort of like has stats associated with and gives you more HP. I'm not entirely sure how PvP works and that do lower level players get a bonus damage? I don't know because it feels like it's not that major of a difference. I mean, if you're talking like level 0 gear score to level 70 gear score, that's a pretty big difference. But like 20 range didn't feel like that crazy of a difference. Anyways, it's right. So that's like the action RGB part, but the survival element, it's got the base building, the crafting. When you die, you drop your stuff, right? It's the classic tropes there. And man, it's such a dude for $20. I'm like constantly there's like so many little things that I was playing with my boy Salty Mayo, and we were just like constantly like surprised and pleased in the detail they did. Like we expected the first sort of like the new tier zone has like everything kind of looks the same eventually. And then we were like going to go in tier 2 zone, and we're like expecting it to look the exact same, but it's like completely different. It's like farmlands, and instead of like bandits, it's like villagers themes, and the villagers are like scared and running away from you, but they're also like kind of some of them are like aggro and they're defending their crops with like their porch fix, and then they get really smart and they'll put up garlic. They'll hang like garlic on like these crosses outside
vampire,
of
right?
yes, outside of their bases, and you take if you get like garlic stacks, and the more stacks you get, the less and less damage. So if you get like 100 stacks, you're dealing like I think it's like 75, and maybe it's like 50% less damage to these villagers. So you're like doing no like they're actually like a threat. It's dude, there's like this one village where it's a bunch of villagers, and we were fighting them their day, and we're like, dude, these villagers are just aggro. Like they're, for whatever reason, they're just like most of them like cower in fear, right? But these guys were like fighting back, like fist fighting. We're like, what's going on? But we were just farming and getting resources, and because you go in, you can like rummage through their drawers and take loot. It's so cool, man. And then nighttime hits, and the thing with like, so right as you said, you're a vampire. Let me address that quickly. That's kind of like the spin on it, right? So it's interesting because most of the time in survival games, nighttime's like the danger time, right? You can't see, visibility's low. It's spooky. This is like the opposite. So daytime, if you're in the sun for too long, you start burning and start rapidly losing HP. So you have to use the shadows. And the shadows are dynamic. They move with the time of day, dude.
Okay.
It's like I was like, dude, they really thought this out, man. Yeah. And then you got nighttime, and you're like free, you don't have to worry about the sun. There's blood moons, which happen every so often, which gives you like a bonus to your stats, which is pretty cool. But, anyways, that's like the really cool mechanic of it. But with this village, jumping back to the village quickly, when nighttime hit, they all transform into werewolves. These giant werewolves are like, what? That's why they're so aggressive. And then once we once we like cleared it out, like it was a real struggle. We started looking around. There was like some environmental storytelling. There was like these prison cages outside of their like village shack. And the entrance to the village, there's like this gate, and it has a little crescent moon floating, like a little wooden crescent moon dangling from it. We're like, dude, that was like, dude, it was such a cool experience, man. We were
Really
like,
cool.
yeah. It's honestly, dude, $20. I haven't played a lot of games. I'm not like a game review guy, but like game of the year for me, dude. This game for $20, so good, man. So good.
Awesome. Like I like it when games have that kind of intelligent like development approach to them, that design where you go from one area to another, and it's not just like either things are harder or even, as you say, like things just look a bit different. It's like the whole mechanics are different as well. It's a lot of games kind of forget to do that, or it's just like easier not to do that. I think that's maybe what when I was seeing some like New World stuff, I don't think really the mechanics changed particularly as you were going through the game. And like I think games these days do need to they do need to do that to really capture people and like get people to change stuff. Like it's even some of my favorite series is like I'm a relatively big Final Fantasy fan, like especially kind of the PlayStation 1 era, but like there's so many, right? They span from like Final Fantasy 1 all the way through to like 15. I think they've announced 16 now even. To be fair, 15 was actually quite good. I did play it. It was actually all right. But like there was I went back, like this is years ago, but I went back to play Final Fantasy 4 and that's like emulate console and all this kind of stuff. I can't even remember what it was on. And it's actually mechanically, like it wasn't actually very long compared to some of the others because it was back then. But mechanically, quite a lot of the fights were actually much more interesting than some of the later ones where you can basically just like auto attack your way through the game if you get to a high enough level. Like there was so many of the fights which are just like you need to like work out like what the boss's like deal is, and like you either have to like kill his minions or you have to hit something first, which like resets whatever, and like do things in like a certain specific order to actually get any damage to go through and stuff. And I was like, man, this is actually really cool. And like in terms of like battle mechanics, it's like actually one of my favorites out of all of them, even though it's like super super old, like one of the oldest ones. It looks like Game Boy, like Pokemon graphics, whatever. But like the actual like mechanics of the fights was like really neat. So like I really do like that kind of thing where there's been time and an effort put into that sort of development of and also just as you say about how the things that you need to do overlap. I think in Tarkov sometimes we end up with like almost too much. You just get bombarded with like so many quests and so many things to maybe upgrade that there's like the need maybe could be like slimmed down a little bit. I don't know. It's just, I mean, it's a very different type of game, but I don't know. I'm very very tempted to check it out after you say it sounds so cool. It's like it seems like a really awesome combination of like Diablo 2 and like Minecraft or something. But with like really really neat mechanics from like other places. So it definitely sounds like enough like its own game. That it's got enough of its own unique things in it that it sort of stands out. I've seen lots of other people play it on Twitter. There's lots of chatter about it. Actually, people seem to be really enjoying it. So might be one to check out.
I'm not sure about the longevity of it. I don't know, but it's like, yeah. I mean, I got 80 hours in, and I feel like I could easily put another 80 more. I love it. I can't. It's funny because Salty Mayo, I think he saw me playing and he checked it out and he was like, dude, this game looks dumb. I'm gonna like buy it, make fun of it, make a video out of it. And then he just like was just like completely turned, dude. He was like, dude, this game is awesome, dude. I love this game, dude. Yeah, it was great, man.
Sometimes you can just never tell. You just have to fiddle with those mechanics. Like what you were saying about min-maxing stuff or whatever. I thought we were going to turn into like curtain talk earlier when Church doing his interior decorating. It's this is now a design podcast,
dude.
We're talking about carpets mainly.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's fun. That's super fun. That's really really fun. I always enjoy finding something new and interesting that's got some good mechanics. As you say, right, if you get 80 out of it and there's another 80 hours, like that's solid. Like these days everybody's kind of looking for like the next game that you could just spend infinite amount of time in and just last you like 10,000 hours. But it's totally respectable for something to keep you involved for 100, especially for like $20 and keeps you involved for like 100 hours, whatever. Like, I mean, that's a success, right? Either which way. Well, how does kind of the end game work? Is there like an end game, or is it just like you just build and then you get to the end game, fight other people? Is that sort of it?
So my understanding, I haven't gotten there yet. But there's it's almost like a boss rush mechanic. Like you fight each boss, you get new abilities, new recipes. You kind of progress up and up and up and up till you get to the end. And this is like the end game part is there's these things called soul shards, I think. And there's like 3 or 4 of them, but they're basically like buffs that you get, and you have to fight incredibly challenging bosses or something. I don't know. Um, and the idea is like people fight control for them. So like if you get one, you have to plant. Apparently, you got to plant in your base, and then you get the buff for you.
Mhm.
I don't know what they are. Maybe it's like crafting buffs, combat buffs. I'm not sure, but that's kind of the idea. I mean, the one downside to the game, or I guess something I'd be interested to see improve is that the maps are static, so it's always the same map, and I would love if they could pull off a procedure like a pseudo procedural generation because they have like the bosses typically are in like a specific part of the map that they roam around. Maybe like a bandit camp or like a sulfur
Yeah.
quarry. Right. So like you could have those static, basically how Rust does it. You have like these static locations, like the design of them doesn't change, but where they're located changes and the map around that changes. But like the
Yeah.
buildings look the exact same every time. They're just in a random spot, random geometry around it. To kind of help like spice things up because now it's basically like I'm starting to find out looking at guides and YouTube content, there's like really meta stuff like, at the start of a server, run to here, build a base at this location. Here's step by step how you build a base because the foundation's always the same, and now you
Right.
control this really powerful part of the map, it's like so. But um I still think I really think the only reason it's $20, dude, is the graphics. It's not like it's kind of like Valheim, but like a step up. I would say it's isometric. It basically looks like Dota 2 or League almost in a
Mhm.
way. I can't get over it. For $20, man. I'm like pleasantly surprised.
I'm actually just going to look up the like what it looks like from the top.
Yeah.
Why do you think the graphics are a problem? I mean, it looks pretty good to me.
I think that graphics determine price a lot. Unfortunately, if people don't want to pay $60 for
Yeah.
a game that looks like it came out in 2000s, 2010. They want the AAA, whoa, look at the lighting and shadows and the detail and the hair. Look at the hair textures, bro. You see his arm hair? That's so amazing. This is totally worth $60. Oh,
I mean, yeah, I guess. I
I
guess
bought
that's kind of like
I bought
I
another
don't know.
Ubisoft game. Oh
Oh
no.
yeah.
No, I'm making a joke. Sorry.
I just feel that the maybe that's like what like how the AAA developers like justify their pricing though, because I just feel like anything that's sort of
Yes, that's what I'm
non
saying.
triple, yeah, anything that's non AAA, people are like they wouldn't pay that. I don't
Right.
think.
Right.
Like it's only justified because people say I don't know. And people, the AAA titles have been going downhill for a long time, and especially as they keep tripping up. There's quite a lot of these big titles that mess up, and the launch dates are not very good and whatnot. Like people are just I don't know. People are becoming quite skeptical, I think. I mean, yeah, it looks good. I mean, it looks as good as like Diablo. I mean, to be fair, Diablo 3 is quite old now, but
Mhm.
Diablo 3 was looked really nice. It looks very similar to that. The thing is, like, if you're looking at top-down, isometric, like action RPG type thing, the graphics don't need to be that good. Like, you can
Right.
still go back and play Diablo 2 now, and it's like it's playable because it
Mhm.
doesn't really matter. Same thing as you
Yeah.
say with Dota 2, right? Like if you zoom in on the models, like they're not necessarily the most complex models ever, and you're like, oh, okay, it's like it's average but sort of smooth. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like they're
Yeah.
smooth and they're nicely textured, but it's not necessarily the best detailing of all time. But it doesn't matter because you're looking at them from up here
Right.
down onto the top of their head. So it's really more about like the animations and things, which is really just a couple of effects. So you can make it look pretty good. I mean, to be honest, like the lighting, like yeah, I mean, as you said, lighting is quite important because of the whole shadows thing. So I
Mhm.
mean, the lighting looks pretty good, if I'm honest. But
Yeah.
I mean, it
Th-
looks decent.
yeah.
Yeah, I know there's quite a few like this. Did you ever play Magicka? I think I spoke about Magicka like ages ago. It was like a big game at one point. It was probably the equivalent of like V Rising hype kind of thing. Like a bunch of people playing it and they play it for like 100, 200 hours and then they stop playing. Um,
Huh.
it was good fun. It was good fun. That's like
I know I
Uh,
didn't play this.
kind of look similar. It's like a bit older, so the graphics are actually a bit worse on that even.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a fun game. It was another game with unique mechanics. You play as a mage. You could play up to 4 players and go through the storyline. There wasn't actually that much content. There was no base building or crafting or anything. So it was like shorter lived than games like V Rising. But that was kind of interesting. You had like 8 elements, and you can combine up to 5 elements in any
Ooh.
particular spell. So you could make any combination of
Oh,
any of
that's
those different
cool.
elements together, and it was awesome. So if you just did like fire, 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 it would just make like
Yeah.
a really big fire. But if you did like
Dude, that's
like
cool.
if you did like rock, one rock, so obviously it's quicker to cast if you just cast one thing. So if you cast rock once, it would just like throw out this like tiny pebble. You like hold it down, and you go, "Wazoo." But if you did like rock, 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 this like huge boulder would come out. But if you did like rock, rock, fire, fire or something, then it would be like this flaming boulder, and you could combine like fire and water together to make steam, and like there's like
That's
all sorts,
so
there's like
cool.
it was really really neat. It was actually
Yeah.
really neat. It's definitely worth like going back and checking out like the original one. I don't know how much it is, but it was definitely fun, and you kind of get like your muscle memory because it's like QWERASDF on all the
It's
different like the different spells, and then there's some like specific ones that you pick up like on scrolls or whatever, and you have to combine the specific set together that wouldn't normally like make anything particular, but it does like haste or something, where there's like it's not represented necessarily by like the elements, but they're
mhm.
like particular like spell combinations in a
Right.
particular order you have to remember. So you get like your muscle memory down for some of these, and you're just like combining stuff on the fly. Like there's no mana, there's no stamina. It's like as fast as you can cast, you can
Ooh.
cast. It's like really, really freeing. And it was awesome. It's quite old now, but I had a great time with that. So that's actually really, really fun. I don't know whether it's that. I wonder how much Magicka actually is now. I'd be surprised to probably one of those ones that because it's not on sale or whatever, it's probably like $20 or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But that definitely gave me some good times. I enjoyed that game, and it was a unique set of like characteristics the way the game was put together. I've never played like a Magic game with like no mana or anything. It was just like down to your individual skill, and you could do PvP too. There was like a PvP kind of arena and stuff.
Huh.
It was fun. Some combos were like pretty OP broken, but yeah, it's neat. It
It
was neat.
sounds like Invoker on crack or something.
Yeah, exactly. It was like
Yeah.
Invoker the game kind of thing. For those of you who played Dota 2. Yeah, man, it's fun. Well, it's good to hear that you've been enjoying something else in the downtime for EFT.
Mm.
I'm not yet. There's so many games on the list that I like kind of want to try and play, but I keep getting distracted with other
Yeah.
things and like doing Tarkov stuff and whatnot. Like recently, like Tarkov related. God, I've like subjected the poor viewers of my stream to like 3 sessions of Interchange. I know you popped in the other day to and saw me playing, but
Yeah.
I've been trying to complete the long line on Interchange. You have to kill 30 PMCs inside the mall. Once you get to like level 45, you unlock that quest. And dude, like I'm so bad at Interchange. I'm so bad. But I was very determined that we're going to improve and get better.
Good for you.
And I am less bad
Nice.
than I was. On a scale of really bad to neutral to like
Mm-hmm.
good, I've gone from being really bad to being like marginally less bad, but I wouldn't still say that I'm not too bad. I'm not even there yet. Like we're definitely not at neutral. I don't know what it is about Interchange, but like I cannot win the fights on that map. I don't know what it is. And like we were having a conversation actually, which kind of reminded me. Something seems to happen in the mid game of Tarkov where things sort of go back to normal. But people reminded me at the beginning of the wipe how I felt then, which was just headshot meta is extraordinary. Do you remember playing Factory right at the start of this wipe? And it was just I don't know what changed this wipe. It felt different. It was just headshots everywhere. If you weren't getting a headshot, you were getting killed by a headshot yourself. Like I don't know. It felt like the thorax meta just didn't even exist at the beginning of the wipe.
Well, yeah,
It was
because your
nuts.
gun instantly kicks up to their head because your recoil got adjusted. Yeah. I mean,
I, don't- I
that's my theory.
I do think that's partly it. I do think that's partly it. But I mean, dude, playing Interchange now, it feels like I've gone back to that, and that's kind of what reminded everybody
Mm.
because I just died so often. It was like so many times I will just walk around the corner and just die to an instant headshot on Interchange. It's like it's remarkable. It's actually remarkable. And I was like, I rely too much on thorax shots, and I need to work on my headshots. Like actually need to work on it. Deliberately go for headshots instead. Because normally I just go, well, the time to kill, it's like 2 or 3 shots or whatever. But like by that point, like I'm already dead. You know, I
Yeah.
need to work on it. There's so many fights where like I played it right, heard the guy, baited him out, swung the corner, and then like lose the fight because the dude just looks up and headshots me. And it's like, man, like this is insane. Like this, so I had one particular stream. Actually, I can pull it up. I've been using this new technique. So I used
Ooh.
to I mean, this is just like content creation stuff, but I used to like have my notepad that I used to write everything down in.
Yeah.
And I don't bother anymore.
Oh, okay.
Because what I do afterwards is I use that program that we talked about, which is for anybody who like does any video editing stuff. The program Lossless Cut is amazing. Like, there's no encoding. You can cut things apart, piece them back together. Like, it's a really, really good program just for like basic edits, but without doing any encoding, it's really awesome. And you can change different formats from one to another also with like no loss, like MKV to MP4. It's actually, can you do that in there?
I'm not sure.
Oh
I've
no,
never done
I
it.
know I use OBS for that. Nice. I use OBS for doing the recoding. But anyway, but it can deal with any of those formats and cut them up. So what I do at the end of each stream now is I will throw the stream into Lossless Cut, and then I will go through and I will find the end screen with the number of PMCs and scavs killed on each raid, and go in out da 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 da, and then I'll export it and cut it into a million pieces, delete the original stream, and then I will on each one I'll put like the weapon, the map, the number of PMC kills, and whether I survived or not on each individual raid. And it makes it so much easier to go through. And it's way better than the notepad, because now if I go like, oh, I would like a clip for an RFB, I go RFB in my like, archive, hit enter, and then it'll come up with all the RFBs, what map it was,
so
how many
smart.
PMCs I killed. Like, dude, it's awesome. And it obviously it takes a bit of extra work to like go and do that after the stream, but it probably takes me like 5 to 10 minutes to actually go and cut it apart and put it all back together and da, da, da. But what it allows me to do is delete really long raids where nothing happened, so I can save on a lot of space and just keep the cool stuff, and then keep an archive of some clips that I can use here and there, which is good. But anyway, that aside, that long story aside, when was this one? So this was was this the last Interchange set? Actually, this was the one that didn't go too badly. There was one stream that didn't go too badly, but there was one session, I think it was the middle session. Honestly, dude, it was appalling. I think I got like 2 kills or something in like 15 raids, and I died in like 13 out of the 15 raids. It was so vicious. It was so vicious. I just don't understand. Interchange, I'm just not good. I'm just not good, man. I'm just not good. It's so hard. Yeah, I think it was this one. We did. Oh, maybe we did some factory at the start. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 raids, 1 kill. And I survived 3 times.
Okay,
Insane.
50% survival rate.
50% on that one.
That's pretty good. I mean, that's
that wasn't too bad. This one I survived twice out of 6, and got 4 kills, 2 in each raid.
Which makes sense. Raids. If you're going for more kills, you're putting your life in danger more.
I mean, that's true. That is true. That is true. This one was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 raids. We got. Oh wait, is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 10 raids. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 kills. And this is the one I'm talking about. Yeah, and 1 survive. I survived once. In 10 raids, I died 9 times, got 7 kills, and survived one single raid. And the single raid that I survived, we just killed scavs with the MP7 and didn't meet anyone. Honestly, dude, it's been rough. I had people in chat being like, "I'm really sorry for you to watch this happen. Like, I'm sad for you. This is like, yeah." People are like, "I'm really like, it's making me sad watching you die every raid over and over." And it was only the last raid that we survived.
Yeah.
So I died 9 times in a row on stream.
I don't know how you
on Interchange.
How'd you manage that, dude?
I think it was because as long as you have your expectations set correctly, it's okay. Because I went in with the mindset of like, we're going to learn the map and we're just going to die a lot. And we're going to get PMC kills too. Yeah, and partly the good thing about it is that quest forces you into the mall. It doesn't count if it's not in the mall. And the mall is the place that I struggle the most. I get most of my Interchange kills outside because that's where the scavs are, and you can track people, and I can do all my usual things, right?
Yeah.
And you don't really have to pay attention to the map too much because it's much less complicated out there. Whereas in the mall itself, it's like crazy audio. Actually, the last video that I put up yesterday, I don't know whether you've got around to watching it yet, but it was just about like calling cheats in EFT. But I had like this ridiculous situation where like I thought some guy just like shot me straight away, and there was another dude who was like above. Like you just never know what's happening in EFT. But like I find that let me just say this: I find that in Interchange, I meet a disproportionate number of squads compared to playing
Yeah,
any other map.
that
Even
map.
if I kill one, I almost always get killed by the second.
Hmm. I think that map's like fantastic for squad play. Um, yeah, solo play is
Partly because
really
you can
rough.
lock it down, right? You can
Yes.
lock down the wall so easily, right? If you're playing a squad, if you're playing like two or three on, I mean, customs is sort of halfway there, but say woods, like you can't lock woods down. Like there's not enough choke points. There's too much foliage. If a solo player just sneaks off and disappears over a hill, they could pop up literally anywhere. Whereas on Interchange, you can have a dude covering one corridor, a dude covering another corridor, and another guy kind of like roaming around fighting somebody. And you can, when you do a flank to cut someone off who's playing solo, there's nowhere for them to go.
Yeah, they're
They cannot
screwed.
go anywhere. There's no escape route. Like if you're in the mall and you're down one of the particular sections, if there's not a set of metal stairs where you go glang clong clang clong clang clong, so you're signposting yourself anyway. I think that's partly the thing. Sometimes even in those situations where I do find myself escaping, I end up running through the mall into someone else.
Hmm.
And it's really hard for solos. I really do think it's very, very tough for solos. I've always had this opinion, and actually giving Interchange a good go, like I'm definitely better at the map than I was, but I meet duos so often. I meet them all the time. People love playing Interchange duos, to be fair. Like if I look on the streams and stuff, like most people who are playing Interchange are playing either with a two or a three, and there's not that many people playing it by themselves. And I think it's just partly for that. Tactically speaking, you can just like lock it down so easily, and
Yeah.
it's if you're playing on your own, it's so hard to get out. There's nowhere to go. There's no maneuverability. It's really rough.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I did see your video, the cheating video. I thought it was really cool. I liked it. And what happened there with the two pistoling duo, which I thought was really cool that they were like streaming it and restreaming each other's stream. Like that was pretty cool.
We had
Um
all three perspectives. Like you never get
yeah,
that.
yeah. Yeah, that was really cool. But like what they did was like a textbook play, like, oh, he's here. It's like perfect. I'm on the second floor. I know exactly where I can go to flank this guy. And he knew like all the sound audio tricks you can do and that whole
Yeah, I
can of
was
worms.
amazed how much he could hear me while
Yeah.
I was not overweight and I was crouched, admittedly walking at full speed, but I was like not overweight, right? So normally that's the killer because you can hear people really easily. But I was just like crouch walking sideways, trying to look for this other guy. He could hear me plain as day. At one point, he was actually walking above me and I couldn't hear him at all.
Yeah.
Um, but he can hear me like as if I'm next to him, kind of thing. Like it's insane. And just leans around the corner and he's like looking for me through the glass and spots me there. I was amazed as to how much he could hear. It's crazy,
Yeah.
crazy.
It's yeah, audio, fun stuff. But yeah, dude, I think that's why I liked Interchange so much. I mean, nowadays it's like when I was playing a lot, it was as a solo, it was just in and out, like just speed run, expect to die, get the good loot, and get out. I mean, that's just kind of like that's the thing is like a lot of people say their big complaint will be like, oh, there's always someone in a dark corner of the store camping. And like, yeah, that's true. But like on the flip side, if you're the guy in the dark corner of the store, you have only your entrance is your exit. Like you are screwed, dude. If it's a squad, you are screwed, man. You are screwed. Um, Even if it's got like two entrances and exits, like all they have to do is just pinch you from. That's like beneficial to them because they can just pinch you from two different directions. Now you're really screwed. Like yeah, it's really really tough map for
It
solos.
is
I
it is tough. I
think.
mean, to be fair, you've played a lot more Interchange than me. Like, if you were completing long line, like, what would you do? Do you think? Because some people were saying like, oh, you're a bit like maybe I'm playing too slowly. Because I was like, I can't like we actually had a whole conversation, and this is like potentially a whole other topic for another time. But we had a whole conversation about playing Shift W on that map,
Mhm.
where like that works really well, and you like push to the stores and you push the hotspots, and you actually have like a proper fight rather than kind of these sort of like weird long range fights where you have like three people with mutants shooting at you over like 100 meters
Yeah.
down long distance corridors. And I was like, my take on it was like, that's fine so long as you know the map. If you don't know the map, you're just going to run into
Right.
people in random corners and they will hear you first and then you'll die. So if you know the map intimately, that works, but you have to build yourself up to there. But I'm interested what you think like the best strategy would be.
Um. Yeah. define best, but
The way to get the most kills for the quest inside the mall without dying too much.
extract
Or
camp.
would you just go for max kills? Maybe you just go, well, can you extract camp the mall though? Because you have to be in the mall.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, that's true. Where does Ollie and Idea and Goshen, do those count as the mall?
The inside counts and the underground counts. You just can't be outside.
I mean, you could. I don't know, dude. Like my gut instinct is like just shift W and then die, and you'll learn the timings based
Like
off
shift W
your
to like tech light or
right. Like
Rasmussen or like killer ramp or like
you spawn by outside of Ollie, um, either by the garage or by the off past the blue connexes or whatever. You spawn on that side of the map. You just run in the Ollie, run up the escalators, cut immediate left to Texco. I think it's the first floor. And if a guy's not shooting you from when you're going up the stairs, like if he's shooting at you from the garage, is one possible scenario. Scenario 2 is you come up the escalators and someone else is shift W towards you and they're shooting at you. Scenario 3 is you cut left and you're running into Texco and there's a guy already in Texco because he spawned highway and he ran through Ultra, up the Ultra escalators, cut a right towards all the way down to Texco. Like you just, it's just learn the timings, and the way you're gonna learn is dying. So
yeah, exactly.
basically you die a bunch and then maybe you get lucky here and there and then you start building up this shift W. You learn the timings because it's like so predictable, man. That we talked about this before, so I won't go long, but it's like so predictable. Like you just like when you can shift W and then when you like have to like be on your feet and thinking, so
Yeah, maybe that is the way. Because I did a lot more kind of like waiting for shots, trying to like get sort of third party on people who are
I think
killing
you can
scouts
make
and
that
things, and
work
it works
well.
in some ways.
Yeah,
and that was more like about learning the map. I feel like that was probably okay to begin with because I was just like not comfortable in the mall and like not comfortable with where a lot of the stuff is and like where the entrances and exits are from like different places. But now that I've kind of got that down, now that I've like played it enough, like I could definitely do that as the next stage and like build up into running in and learning the timings and just taking something. What gun would you take? That was another thing that I struggle in Interchange. It's like sometimes you meet people at point blank. Sometimes they're like
it's a weird
150
man.
meters away
Yeah,
down the corridors. Like we tried all sorts of things. We did like SCAR, we did like MDR, we tried the P90 with a hammer on it, which was
yeah,
actually not that bad. I will say that actually
yeah.
wasn't that bad. I quite liked that. I quite enjoyed it.
That's the thing is like you can technically run like an MP7 P90 and it can work in certain scenarios. Like I think it's viable, but it's you kind of want to be doing the shift W thing, right?
You have to
Like
play around
I've
it,
seen
right?
people run valves on that map. It's just like, yeah, but probably like I still think SR25 or one of those high caliber
Yeah,
guns. They're just like good up close and it's just a good all around gun. So that probably
exactly.
be my thing. Yeah, I mean, the more you talk about it, it is really hard because I would be like, oh, just sit here. And then I think it's like, well, someone could just like shoot you from a different angle and you wouldn't even see them or hear them, Because it's weird like that. And it's like, oh, just camp this store. But then like you may or may not see anyone. And then if you do kill someone and there's a squad, you're stuck inside a store and they're going to nade spam you to death. It's like,
Yeah, and if you're on your own, it's just like where do you go, right? It's like it's hard.
yeah. I mean, you could try to do stick to the outskirts of the mall on the first floor, maybe the second, because do you know about the secrets? We're getting into a whole like meta strategy about Interchange now, but do you know about the secret? I call them secret Ollie, or sorry, idea secret, Ollie secret. They're like these back
Staircases.
offices, right, that take you up a square spiral staircase to the second floor. Are you aware of these?
The one that I normally use is the one in Goshan. You go from like the back of Goshan through the office kind of door.
Yes.
Rather than going into the main mall, you go to the right, and
Yep.
there's like the door there, and you go through. There's like a computer room, and then there's that staircase. That's the one that I almost always use to get up
Okay.
onto the second floor. The other one, I don't remember where that is. The other one that I use is the one that takes you from the parking garage into the back of Goshan. I use that all the time. for like getting into the map, so that I don't necessarily like bump into people. You know, there's like that rickety wooden set of crates and boxes and blah blah blah. Like when you spawn in, you can go into the underground garage,
Yeah.
and then round the corner, and then you go up there into the back. But it's not really.
It's
It's
not
sort of
a.
off to the side. Yeah, it's not
Is
like
it
a
an
secret staircase.
escalator?
No. This is just like the set of boxes from the parking lot.
Oh! It's like a shelf that's like
Yeah, that's like
randomly
fallen or
got.
something. It takes you to like
Yeah.
that industrial bit at the back
Yes.
of
Yes. Yes. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
back
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
map. Yeah,
So
those are the two that I mainly use.
So the first one, you're in Goshen, and it's like to your right, and then there's like some offices. The other one's like to your left, just on the opposite end. Like basically, Goshen connects through the offices, connects the two major parts of the mall, or three major parts. Like Goshen, if you're in Goshen, you're looking towards the center of the mall. To your right
Yeah,
is the offices that connects the idea, because you could technically. He's writing this down, chat.
I'm looking at the map. I'm
Oh,
actually
okay.
opening the map up, like genuinely,
Technically,
because otherwise I'm going to lose
you
myself.
could stay on the first floor and go around and come out near idea, basically.
Yeah,
Or you could go up the stairs within those offices and go to the second floor, which would put you above idea-ish, you know. And then if you go on the other side towards Ollie, those little offices, you got the
where's the staircase there?
um should just be right next to the
I'm
office.
not really. I'm
So
just looking at the map, just trying to see.
is Goshen at the top or at the bottom of this map?
Well, this is the one on. Well, Goshen's in the middle now. This is the one on
Is Goshen north
Map
or
Genie.
south?
Goshen is like
Relative
east,
to
no.
Okay, it's east. Okay. So
So like
north,
ideas at the top, ideas north,
right.
and then Ollie's south on this map.
So
So
like
the idea one I get, that one that's fine. I use that staircase all the time, but like where's the other staircase?
you just
Does it
take a
says
line straight down from those. Do you take the double doors to the offices, right?
yeah.
Because there's like a Bizarro, I think it's Bizarro store, clothing store that's next to there's like a bathroom that you can go.
Yeah, Bizarro there, and
Yeah,
then
if
there's a
you just
bathroom you can go through.
you can keep going all the way down, fall all the way down. There's another set of double doors there on the opposite side.
I don't
All
find
right.
it on the map, but I kind of
I'm
we'll have to look at it. You have to
I'm
send me a
pulling up
link
a
or
map.
something. Like I don't even know where this is, but
Pulling
I
up
trust
right
you.
now.
I trust you. Where is this? I'm like, let me try and
This
change
map's
the.
weird.
Let me try and change this. Is there a
We'll
way
use
that you
Map
can get
Genie.
rid of the staircase, or can you put like just staircases on or something? I actually don't use Map Genie that much.
I really like Map Genie. Shout outs to Map Genie.
I normally use the in-game ones. I thought this might be easier because I thought there might be an easier way to get this up. Actually, I might just use the regular one on the wiki. Let me do that. That's power station. Here we go. I usually use the wiki one, the static map.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's got like that's got the staircase. To be fair, like they all kind of look like stairs, but okay. Oh, so this is the corner by the Ollie office, I guess. Well, it's not. It's not actually by the Ollie office.
It's not actually by it. Yeah. What I mean, yeah. It's on the side of Ollie. That's why it's called Ollie's Secret, because it's on that side of the map. You know what I mean?
But you can't actually get to it from there.
Same's true for Idea. I mean, you're like really close to it. I mean, if you just walk further
Also
past,
true, actually.
if you just walk further up.
That's true. You know what? I don't think Map Genie has it.
I sent you
as a staircase.
It's kind of represented. I sent you a DM. Excuse the
Because the main map does actually have a staircase there.
Does it?
Yeah.
There's not actual lines for staircases. It looks like a dead end almost.
And have a look at your have a look at your map. Yeah, okay, fine. It's just like on Map Genie on one side, it has an actual like arrow up kind of symbol.
Oh, okay.
Here's a staircase, and you go over it, and it says Goshen office stairwell up.
Oh.
And you go to the other side, and it doesn't actually say anything.
Okay.
Oh, it's got a question mark saying stairs. Okay, it's slightly differently labeled.
I see.
It's like Kibber Alarm 1 and stairs are both labeled with a question mark. Okay, so they've labeled it in a different way, in a bit of a funny way. Okay, fine. All right. After that 10-minute interlude of trying to explain to Giga where the stuff is on Interchange because he's a noob.
Stop it.
Now I know what you're talking about. Okay, great. Yep. I never normally use that one.
Use those to rotate. Like basically you see how the first floor, the front of the mall, everything connects to that long hall. Yeah. You can go from one side to the other side, whereas on the back side of the mall, technically where Io was at, you could use those secret rooms to navigate. You could even go up the stairs instead of taking like the main. Like, don't ever take tech light escalators. It's like always a death trap, dude. I mean, you can risk it because they can't hear you until you're like
near the top.
Yeah, they can only hear like the top. Like they'll hear like 1 or 2 footsteps on metal, and then you'll be at the top. Like it's actually really dumb, but that is how it is. So if you want to just shift W, that's one way to do it. But yeah, that's kind of actually what I do when I did my solo money making rounds. As I tried to stick to the outside and like investigate any stuff, but like that strip through the middle where the 2 fountains connect, like you get the hole in the floor where kill is typically at, and then you got the fountain on the other side. That's like loot alley / death alley. Like a lot of the PvP will happen along there, either in the stores or outside. So
yeah, that's the thing. Like it's trying to look for PvP, really.
Yeah,
but like also not just get insta
tapped. Right. So you kind of just gotta like circle around the map. You could try doing that and try to like, yeah. That'd be my advice.
I should try some different routes. I'll try some different routes. Like we tried a bit upstairs and stuff, but like I ended up most of the time not running into really anybody. It's a bit of a weird time now because Interchange is pretty dead because people normally do loot runs and stuff there, but like no one's really searching for stuff. So I think like the one where I got killed and I made the video about it, those 2 guys didn't find anybody else except for me because I watched like a little bit more because I was like just trying to find the context of the clip and stuff. And they were like, oh, I guess this is it then, just like one guy. So they looted a few other rooms, took my stuff, and then left. So there's just like 3 of us really that were like in the main mall, like making noise. I mean, there could be other people around just like looting and whatnot, but people who are like actually actively scanning around the main mall because these guys were, they were down the central section, which is where I shot them first. We were in the kind of the south section doing other stuff, but actually no, sorry, it wasn't south section, it was the north section. Yeah, so we sort of covered that like top half of the actual main Ultra Mall. Didn't go in Idea and we didn't go in Ollie. But it's a good quarter of the map to be covering, and there were shots there. They were shooting scavs. I shot at them. They shot at me. So if there were other people who were looking for PvP, they probably would have come, and they didn't find anybody. So it's a weird time to be trying to play Interchange right now, anyway.
Yeah, I can see that.
So I don't know. I'm half tempted to carry on, and I'm half tempted just to like just shelve it again.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm torn because I put like quite a decent amount of time into it, and I'm just like I am getting better, but it's like it's not a quick process. It's really not a fast process so far. And like after spending like 3 to 4 streams doing it, I mean, I've probably spent in total. It's not going to give me a total value. Oh no, it will. It will. Yeah. So I've probably spent like 10 to 15 hours on it now, on that quest, and it's like, have I had enough? I feel like I've had enough. I'm not like I went back to starting to play a little bit more Lighthouse again because like I'm actually enjoying that map. And as chat's saying, spend that time in Factory instead. It's so much better. Yeah. It's very much more enjoyable. It's entertaining. I mean, Factory's been a little bit frustrating as well, but like I feel like my play's become a lot sloppier as well towards the end of the wipe. Like I had like a really good fight the other day where I was like actually like holding the angle, like pushing aggressively, but like not leaning too far, and like had some like really, really good fights. Ended up killing 2 guys, but their third person came through and looted them before I managed to get back because of the way I was playing. But like didn't die, survived through the whole thing, didn't get the loot, but like was really happy with the way I played the PvP, which is good. Whereas I found a lot of the time, I think it's partly just like playing a new map, trying to learn the routes. I was also messing around with the Scar because I wanted to do a video about it. So I wanted to get the kills with the Scar. So it's like a gun that I haven't used before. And I've got chat as well. I'm like trying to think about so many things that like when I actually get into the gunfight, sometimes I'm just like wide swinging out for no reason into 2 people and dying and stuff. And it's just like not really playing very smart. So I think it's like time maybe just to like tighten up the gameplay a bit. And like on other maps are a bit more straightforward. I can think a bit more about about the fights and not just about like where I am and where people could be and blah, 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 all this stuff. Like it's too much. You need to get you need to get a certain amount of stuff into muscle memory to play well. You kind of need to be like focusing on one thing at a time. Whereas if you try and focus on three, then you get overwhelmed by all the different things.
Yeah,
Factory's easy because it's just a flow map, right? You know where everybody is, and it's easy. So, and even Lighthouse is because it's so open and outside, it's quite fun. So,
yeah. I forget you got to juggle. You like highly prioritize chatting about or with chat about something. So yeah, if you're trying to, yeah, you could probably like just like one eye, one hand on the mouse, also talking to chat, playing Factory, but Interchange maybe not so much.
Yeah,
I got
definitely. There's one period where like somebody wandered past and then fired, and I was like, oh, I wasn't even watching. It's like I was like kind of holding an angle, but I was just like chilling for a second, reading chat, and then I was like, oh, I've missed my shot. I think it's like someone just wandered through my sight line, but like I wasn't looking at the screen. I was like, okay, maybe I need to just like focus down a bit more. I'll be like, right, if we're playing Interchange, we're gonna have to really focus and be more. We could take specific breaks in little cubby holes to like catch up with people, but otherwise, if we're out in the main mall, like need to be all eyes on the screen, just because if you're playing solo there, you've got to have every advantage you can. Otherwise, you're gonna have a bad time. Anyway, that's food for thought. That's actually given me some good ideas about what to do and things. It's good
cool.
it's good to reflect. Good to reflect,
Yeah,
especially
yeah,
with people who play maps that you are typically not as good at. But yeah, there's lots of things to take away there. I think it's useful.
I think if you ever
Useful.
do a stream, you should, and the person you're doing with is a fan of the map, you should try to get them to do some duos with you on there. Did you do some with Geeks a little bit?
I did a little bit, yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
did a bit.
yeah. How
He
did
took
that
me around
go?
Interchange. It wasn't too bad. It was okay. It was
Okay.
actually okay. I did feel like I was trailing around after him like a little lost puppy for quite a lot of it because that was before any of this, right? So I was
Yeah,
still like
yeah.
in very much just like very shaky Interchange mode, and it's funny just like having played the game so much because there's so many maps, right? You could spend all your time focusing on you know 4 or 5 of the maps rather than all of them, and that's definitely the way with me. So it's like some areas of like with that staircase right that we just talked about, like some areas of the map for me, I'm just shaky on Interchange. It's just I don't know the entire map in
Yeah.
its detail. I can get around and it's fine. I'm just like the average player, but like I'd probably know the map as well as someone who's played for I don't know, maybe a wipe and a half playing Interchange like
Mm-hmm.
as their main map, something along those lines.
Yeah.
So it's like a very, very new mentality towards Interchange, which is interesting in its own respect because it's like something different to learn, something new to learn. That's the thing that I do actually like about EFTs because the game's so complex that there's always something new that I can be focusing on. I tend to be like trying to pick something and be like, right, we're going to be working on this, we're working on this, we're working on Lighthouse, sniping rogues, we're working on Interchange, getting better at that, working Reserve, Underground, we're working on customs dorms, like whatever it might be, or like playing labs. Like there's so many untouched areas for me that it's never really gets old, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I've been up to. That's basically it. We're probably running out of time, I would say.
Yeah. I think so.
Hmm.
I got a chance to listen to your album, by the way. I don't think I
Oh
mentioned
yeah,
this, so I want to get it off the list. Good album. I like it, dude.
yeah, it's cool. It's
Yeah.
cool. It's like it's a funny thing. This is the music project where like obviously it's not me making it, but
Right.
it's actually really neat. Some guys were like, we can make some music for your stream or whatever, and it'll be on Spotify, and they're trying to like build a business on it. Anyone who's familiar with like Harris Heller and the streaming music stuff that he does, kind of like a similar thing. But they'll do like bespoke stuff for people, which is really neat. And basically, I sent them like 5 tracks and was just like, make something kind of like this, and then they did, and it's really cool. Like if I was going to do it again, to be fair, they're like they should be making some more stuff for me at some point.
Oh, good.
But like I now that I've like used it a bit, I kind of know a bit more about like what I would like the next time because there's some tracks that like they sound really great, but then when you try to combine them with the content, it's like actually kind of difficult because of like just the
Right.
way that the track sounds. And like especially recently, I've been experimenting a lot with different music, and only having kind of like 10 tracks or something, like you can't use them all the time. Like I was using one as like an intro for a while, and then I was like,
Yes. When I heard that
actually,
on the album, I was like, I know this song. I know this song.
yeah. And I was like, is that good? Is it not? But I felt like it kind of like crimped on like my freedom to create because some intros I wanted to be different and
Yeah.
have a
Yeah.
different feel. And so
Right.
I'm like, actually, I'm just gonna like do whatever because I just want the music to fit the thing rather than like try to have like an intro theme or whatever people associate it with the channel. I don't. There's pros and cons of both, but for me, I wanted to keep that flexibility so I could like set a tone right from the word go because it's so important. But I've been like looking at a few different things. There's like actually I still use your YouTube audio library quite a lot. There's some good stuff in there, and there was another one I think like Devin Nash was talking about these like stream tunes guy STREEM tunes, and they've got like some cool stuff on there as well. But to be fair, like you have to like sift through. So what I end up doing is like sift through loads and loads of music and then like pick out individual pieces and I kind of save them down for myself and then go through and try and use them. But yeah, look, I'm really pleased with the way that album came out. I think it's really nice. And yeah, I mean, even if just like a couple of people listen to it or like a few tracks and just add them to some playlists, then that's that's good. It's a good thing. It's a good thing to have. Like bespoke music is really really cool, and those guys are nice. But yeah, I need to get onto them actually to make some more for me because it'll just make it easier to set the vibe and have those tracks be used more readily in content. So
yeah,
another future project, another thing to do, another thing on the list. The list is so long, dude.
And just
I'm pleased you liked it though. I'm pleased you liked it. I remember the first time when I heard it, I was just like, because it was all gonna, it was a very speculative thing, and I was like, well, they're gonna make the music, whatever. I'll listen to it and see. It's all gonna come down to the quality. And I heard like the first couple of tracks, and I was just like, yes, this is actually really good. Like it's actually like really high production value. This is amazing. Because as much as I love Harris Heller and as much as I love stream tunes, I find that most of the music doesn't necessarily have that much like character to it. There's a lot of music, which is brilliant, right? What he's done for the streaming music DMCA business is absolutely fantastic, and like no one can thank him enough. But I think for certain, like it's great for streaming, actually, as background music. But for doing like shorter form, not short form, but shorter form, like 10-minute stuff, you want something a little bit more with like a bit more character. But it's not as generic. Do you know what I mean? Like the stuff that he's got on a lot of his albums is like fairly generic, which is great for streams because it means it kind of fits with anything. But if you want to pick a particular piece that gives a particular feel, I think maybe some of that emotion is maybe muted a little bit because of the type of like because it really is for streamers, right? It's not really meant for like YouTube for like exciting YouTube videos or whatever. So as I said, I spent a bit more time doing research into other things, and some of these tracks are a bit more like that. Actually, they've got more character to them, which in some cases, as I said, makes it harder to fit them in. But there's one particular track which is like a very like guitar heavy track, and I'm quite a guitar-y guy anyway, and I absolutely love it. Can I find anywhere for it to go in any of my stuff? Freaking no, dude. Like I've not been able to use it at all. I think it's called like Butterflies or something, and it's like one of my favorite tracks on the whole album. It just doesn't go anywhere in the stuff that I want to make. But it is what it is. It's just the way. I've learned a lot of lessons from doing that first album anyway with them. Kind of revising them on it because they have like their own producers that do this kind of stuff, which is really cool. So yeah, it's just another fun project in the list.
Yeah, I love finding that right song for that right emotion. That's like the shove in the video, dude. It's just like, oh, dude, that's my jam, dude. That's my jam. We got a video coming up that's got a little bit of that. I'm excited for it. Yeah.
That's good. Oh, by the way, yeah, I actually really enjoyed the editing on the weapons videos that you did with Airing.
Oh, thanks. It was pretty straightforward, but I appreciate that.
Yeah, I don't know. There was something about it that was just really clean.
Yeah.
Is what I would say. It was just really clean. Like it didn't take away. It was like just enough. Do you know what I mean? It was like just enough editing to make the whole video like really clean, work really nicely together. Like the effects were like soft and in the background. It's a bit like cooking, right? And I've been doing this a little bit in my own videos now. A lot of people were commenting saying like, love the new editing style. Like it's really good. It just makes it like feel better. People don't know specifically what you're doing. It's like if you're cooking a meal, you don't want somebody to be able to taste the cinnamon, right? But like you put a little bit in and it just adds the overall flavor. They don't necessarily like, they can't pick apart the ingredients, but they know they like it. That's kind of the I feel like that's the vibe. And I think you did really well with that in the latest one. It's like just enough. There's just enough effects, but they're kind of subtle. And even just things like airing the camera, like rounded with the corners, everything just feels like just really tight and just like really clean. I think it was a really good job.
I appreciate that. Man.
Like that.
That's definitely my sort of style I'm coming to find and grow into. I like the smooth, clean. Yeah, I like the
with like a mini meme that doesn't go on too long. Like it's like a little clip, just like very short. Because you can so easily go overboard with memes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Tell me about it. Tell me
I
about it,
feel like you've maybe pulled that back a bit, so it's just like a tiny
dude.
little funny excerpt, and then it moves on. So I don't know. I think it was all well done. I think it was very well rounded.
Some of my early edits, God, I can't believe he greenlit some of them, dude. They were like, Jesus
What's
Christ.
that? The unhinged editing?
Those were interesting days for sure. But no, it's cool, dude. I love it. Have you quickly, and then we got to wrap up. Have you listened to the
Mhm.
Cutting Corner podcast that I mentioned?
You mentioned it, and I listened to. So I had when I went off to Stockholm, I
Mm.
downloaded all of the ones that they had. So I
Oh,
listened
cool.
to was it 5 or 6 that they had out at the time,
Something like that,
and
yeah.
I listened to them all because I had like a really long journey. Right, it's like 3 hours down to London for me in the first place, then like an hour on the like the slow Heathrow tube, then the flight to Stockholm was like 2.5 hours, like, and then we had like an hour cab ride. Like, dude, I was like, I need like 15 episodes or something, so I just like downloaded all of it and listened to all of it on the journey. It was
Dang.
good. It was good actually. It was like interesting because it touches on not just like edits. Like there's some stuff about editing, but other
Yeah.
things about just like sort of the way that people do stuff or the way they
Mm-hmm.
think about things is subtle things that you don't really think about that you only hear in that longer form when people are just like free talking about their experience and like how it is working with different creators and how they got to where they are and like things they're thinking about for the future. It's like it's interesting. It's interesting. It's so funny, this kind of like sub world. It's like the content world up here, and then
Yeah.
this like sub world of all the editors, like
Yeah.
kind of like they're in their own thing, right? And they're all
Yeah.
talking to each other. Like it's funny how these kind of sub industries, like to support the main content world, exist. They're kind of in the sort of the next bubble, but they're all doing the same things. There's a whole community there that's built up around it too. It's fun. It's fun. No, I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it. It was a good recommendation. Have you listened to all of? I know when I think I like overtook you initially.
Yeah, dude. Two of my friends, you being one of them, that I've recommended it to, they've like far surpassed me. I need to get back on it. It's like, I don't know. I want to like take it time by, I don't know. I got to get back into it actually because I fell out.
Yeah.
But I found it like it was so valuable that I had to go look up. I'm like, okay, what's the context? What's he talking about? Let me go watch this video. Oh my god, it's a 1 hour long edit of Among Us back when Among Us was popular. Okay, I gotta watch this now. So it's like that's what happened. So it's
Yeah.
but no, seriously, quick shout outs if Cutting Corner Podcast, if you're like looking to get into video editing, maybe it's not like the best thing for that, but I feel like there's a lot of good advice there. Like I don't know if you use Excalibur for Premiere. They were talking about that, like shortcut hotkeys type of stuff. Like I was like, what?
Yeah, I don't, but I definitely was going to look into some of these things, especially with like After Effects and stuff as well, which I also don't use right now, and I'd like to do.
Yeah. I think it's a great resource. I feel like two people that I recommend to has got a lot of value. I got a lot of value of it. So if you are interested in making your content or just want to edit some videos or whatever, you don't know, you just want to need a place to start at the Cutting Corner Podcast.
Yeah, I think there's 2 more I haven't listened to. There's
Yeah, I saw they put out
they've
one
done
new one.
they've done Tommy in it.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
He's one big Minecraft YouTubers.
There you go.
So there's 2 that I haven't listened to, but that one. So they're like 1,000 views, 600,
Hmm.
500 views. Da, da, da. The game of YouTube with Tommy in it, 17,000 views. That's it. They've got like the headline guy now.
I see. Cool. Good for
So
them.
good for them. I'll have to listen to both of those. That sounds interesting. That's interesting.
Cool.
Right.
Wrapping it up.
Before we devolve onto any other random tangents, definitely let's wrap this thing.
So, well, it's that time again where we drag on into another topic. No, I'm kidding. We're wrapping it up. Thanks, guys, so much for tuning in. As always, we're approaching 1,000 subs on YouTube rapidly,
Woo!
which is really cool. Really cool. And as always, see you next week.
Catch you later.